We have a variety of streaming stations, different styles of music, all with the same encouraging message from God's Word.
Majesty Radio,
Urban Praise,
Radio Moody,
the Praise and Worship Channel,
Southern Gospel Radio.
Our streaming stations, another way that God uses Moody to help you take your next step in your walk with Christ. Find our streaming stations on the Moody Radio app, Ask Alexa, or at moodyradio.org.
Let's be honest. Many of us have never learned to handle anger positively.
Dr. Gary Chapman with a Love Language Minute.
Our responses to anger in the past have always made things worse. Some people deny that they have an anger problem. Margaret was a screamer. She prided herself in speaking her mind. She justified her tirades until the day her daughter left her the following note. Dear Mom, I won't be home tonight. I can't take your screaming anymore. I don't know what will happen to me, but at least I won't have to hear all the nasty things you say to me when I don't do everything you want. Margaret read the note, cried, and called her pastor, who in turn helped her find a Christian counselor. Don't wait until you get a note. Reach out for help.
Dr. Gary Chapman is the author of The 5 Love Languages. For more, visit 5lovelanguages.com.
What would it be like growing up as the daughter of Billy Graham? If I could do it all over again. Christian leaders share the most important lessons of their lives. Anne Graham Lotz is a speaker and author. She's the second of 5 children born to evangelist Billy Graham. She recalls a defining moment at the age of 17.
When I was 17, I was at a training institute in California, and I felt very bound by what other people expected of me, thought I should be. In fact, I got taken to task by people who I wasn't what they expected Billy Graham's daughter to be. And so they were very unhappy with me. And somebody spoke to me and said, Anne, you're looking at God through a prism. It's affected by all these other people's opinions of who God is, who you ought to be, and you need to just look at God directly. And from that point on, from that summer of my 17th year, I made the decision to live my life to please an audience of one, that I would live my life to please God. And I knew if he was pleased, my parents would be, my grandparents would be, the people I cared most about would be pleased with me. Some people wouldn't be pleased, but you can't please everybody anyway. And so that has helped me enormously when I've been on platforms in front of large audiences or a television camera or just going to the grocery store, or just living within the confines of my home. I'll live my life 24/7 in utter devotion to please the Lord. And I'm not saying I please him all the time, but that's my aim. I'm not going to live my life for the opinions of other people. I will live my life to please him, do my best to be obedient to what he calls me to do. I never mind what other people say. So I really, in a sense, don't care what other people think, although we do. I do, but that's not what I live for. I live for his pleasure.
Wisdom from author and speaker Anne Graham Lotz. This has been a production of Moody Radio, a ministry of Moody Bible Institute, based on the book, If I Could Do It All Over Again.
It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Christian counseling for adults, couples, children, and families. North Coast Family Foundation. WCRF, Cleveland. WVMS, Sandusky. WVML, Millersburg. WVMN, Newcastle. WVME, Meadville. WVMU, Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
President Trump says direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine will start immediately. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said his call yesterday with Russian President Vladimir Putin about the war with Ukraine went very well. The two leaders spoke for almost 2 hours on Monday. Cuyahoga Community College has announced that its Advanced Technology Academy will come to a close at the end of June. Tri-C says the academy has been grant funded since it began 19 years ago and that those grants have not come through for the coming academic year. Staffers at Bucktel CLC say they found evidence yesterday of the building being hit by gunfire. Witnesses say They saw someone with a gun near the school on Sunday. A discarded firearm was later found in a backyard of a nearby home. In sports, the Guardians and Twins couldn't finish last night. The game was suspended in the bottom of the fourth inning due to rain. Meantime, the Pirates got crushed by the Reds 7-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny this morning, then mostly cloudy with a chance of showers this afternoon. High temperatures are going to be in the mid-60s. At last check, mostly cloudy, 47 in Cleveland, 43 Akron and Canton. Clear skies over Ashtabula where it's just 40 degrees.
It's time for your Moron Moment.
With new listeners joining us all the time, we felt it was a good idea to explain this part of my news. Listeners have sometimes called in to say, we need more Ron. And at least once, Brian has erupted into a cheer of, more Ron, more Ron. On one of those occasions, I suggested he just say those words a little faster together to get to the real me. Of course, it was just a lighthearted joke and everyone got a good laugh. When we decided that I would add a little something extra to the newscast, we felt that a perfect name would be the More Ron Moment, and that's how this came to be. As Paul Harvey used to say, and now you know the rest of the story. And that's your More Ron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcast.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
I'm back. Hey. Woohoo! Thanks, Ron. Anyone else?
Hi.
Anyone?
Bueller.
I actually just found out you guys played a new game yesterday, and I'm really jealous. Lord forgive me.
Yeah, you did say that's not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair. I can't even know what happened. What was it called again?
One's got to go.
One's got to go. It was a lot of fun.
Listeners got really involved too.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to be more like somber when I'm gone.
The world does not stop because you're out.
Yeah, I know. It's good it doesn't do that, but I'm still a little
We'll play
jealous.
it again.
Want to play right now?
No, I don't have questions ready.
You could do it real fast.
No, I don't think like that.
We did get someone text in, it's like, well, the game's called One's Got to Go. Brian's not here. I guess he had to go.
Yeah, so yesterday my wife, I don't think she'd care. She had a colonoscopy. We're both getting to that age.
It's that time of life.
Oh, yeah.
Those are important.
It's not a pleasant experience, but let me just
can't
say,
imagine.
like, I've had one as well. You got to do it.
Right.
My wife had a relative die of colon cancer, and not only was the experience miserable for that person for the last couple of years of their life, but it's preventative. If it's preventable, if you just get those checks done.
Yeah.
I think I was more relieved that she did this than she was. I just, for whatever reason, I'm just always lingering in the back of my mind. When we first met, her aunt passed away of colon cancer, and it's just been lingering there. It's like, goodness sakes, get this cared for. And dumb insurance was like, let's see how long we could wait before we pay for preventative
See
care.
how old you can be until we check.
Yeah. Younger people are dying from it. It doesn't matter. It's fine. So I missed you guys yesterday. What?
I'm just thinking you do a great insurance executive there.
Well, it's like from The Incredibles.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking.
That awesome animated movie that is so underrated. I just love that movie.
Good.
And it's, I think the guy who played in Princess Bride, the inconceivable.
Yeah, he also played Rexy in Toy Story. You hear his voice a lot. Mm-hmm.
Well, and he was the insurance executive,
Yeah.
right? And the whole point of it is let's see what little we can pay for. I don't know. It frustrates me.
Yes.
Are you saying we're not supposed to help our people?
Yeah. But I'm back, so I'm happy to be back, and we have a busy day today. But I also, yesterday, I'm on the board at Summit Christian School, and we had our event to launch our strategic plan. We had a couple of years of Christian school strategic planning, and we're very excited to be making some improvements on the school and such. In the midst of it, there was a cookie tray.
Oh.
And so while we were waiting for folks to arrive, one of the assistant principals and I had a friendly debate about the best cookie. Because
nice.
I'm in a phase of life where I'm making decisions. I'm just deciding things.
Yeah, this is
All the important
cookie I like.
decisions.
Yeah, like at some point I've just got to throw it down. Like I've told you before, Pepsi is better. Someone's got to decide. I just went for it.
Yeah.
And Daria's with me.
Even though they're no longer even in the top 3 best-selling soda pops.
Hey, people said that Tab was the best back in the 80s, so I'm allowed to say that.
It's been 40 years, and no one agrees. So.
Well, Daria agrees with me.
Yeah.
You like it better. It's fine. I mean, I'm
That,
not saying
wasn't
you're wrong.
convincing, so.
I prefer Pepsi, but I'm not like passionately anti-Coke the way you are.
Well, no, I'm not passionate. I just have decided. Like, why is that wrong for me? Like, why do I have to sit on the fence about soda?
You don't. You don't have to.
And
do
so
that.
I've done it on cookies as well.
Okay.
I'm curious if you guys have done this.
What are
Have
the
you
options?
decided Well, I mean, they're the cookies that people make. Like if you go to a cookie tray.
Yeah, I usually will look and
There are many types of
identify
cookies.
that's the one I want.
Well, I saw a guy on the internet. He loves Spam. His daughter made him Spam cookies, and he loved them.
I saw those. Those look
that's
so gross.
Yeah, and
not
I'm not
good.
talking about that. Come on.
It's
Do I have to really
chocolate
list
chip.
these for you? You've
It's
got
chocolate
chocolate chip, you've got oatmeal raisin, you've got sugar, you've got peanut butter, you've got even go to the kitchen sink category. You've got white chocolate macadamia nut. You've got what am I missing
it's
here?
chocolate chip.
Pistachio.
Pistachio.
Pistachio cookies are really big right now. Pistachio everything.
Okay, pistachio. Add that there. So
It's chocolate chip.
chocolate. Lauren, thank you. It's not my choice, but I appreciate that you have chosen
chocolate chip.
a cookie.
Yeah, yours is peanut butter. We know.
It's actually not.
What?
What?
Yeah, I
Can't be
declared
sugar.
it. To the point, I did it subtly, but it came out in the midst of the ceremony that people should stay away from those cookies because I picked them.
Oh, just
I
like,
was
you do,
gonna-
with the,
everybody
just like you
laughed.
do with the donuts around here.
That was mine.
I have a favorite
that's mine.
donut.
That's fine.
And guess what? You guys have tasted it and agree it is the best donut.
That's also my favorite donut, but it's not because of you. I liked this donut before I even worked here, so.
And it is I
You've laid
prefer
claim
the
to
label old-fashioned.
Yes.
Old-fashioned glaze, but that's not technically what they call it at donut shops, I guess. I guess they call it a sour
Sour
cream.
cream.
But if you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you order a sour cream donut, they're going to give you an imposter.
Well, Dunkin' Donuts isn't, the donut.
They're not high
place.
quality donuts.
Generic donuts.
Well, they're liars about sour cream donuts. How about that? So Lauren has picked chocolate chip.
I've picked chocolate chip.
Daria?
Ginger snap.
Interesting choice. So do you want... I've had a ginger snap that doesn't snap. It's soft.
Yeah, I make these really chewy ginger snaps. Like I'm kind of known for them around the holidays. They're my favorite cookie.
So your ginger snap doesn't snap.
No, nice and chewy.
Excellent choice, by the way. I've had those because you made them.
I
don't want it to
I'm not in
snap.
for a crunchy cookie.
Yeah, I don't want
It's got to
that.
be soft.
Soft cookie, please. Like
Like
if it,
red versus blue Chips Ahoy. I'm going red.
Right, red.
I'm going red.
It took me a minute, but I'm
Yeah.
with you.
oh,
going
because
red.
the
They're
red
softer.
specifically softer.
Yeah.
Is it marketed that way? I haven't paid attention.
Yeah, chewy Chips Ahoy.
Chewy, yeah.
Okay. We don't get those because they disappear so quickly and they're expensive.
Yeah, what's the point?
Oh, yeah, they'd be gone.
And then there's fighting about who's had how many. I mean, it's just, I can't do it. Ron, pick a cookie. You can't say all of them.
That would have been my choice. Chocolate chip, yeah.
Chocolate chip.
But peanut butter is a close second.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, talk to me about your peanut butter cookie, though.
Well,
the one on the Crisco can is the one that you're supposed to like.
Yeah.
No, you got to make your cookies with butter.
It should be like 3 inches in diameter and maybe a ½ inch high. Have some weight to it.
Oh, so you like cakey cookies?
It needs to be dense.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just got to have some, like,
gotta
there's
have
nothing
peanut butter in
worse
it.
than a thin little sad peanut butter cookie. Like, oh no, you're so deflated without any peanut butter in you. Are you okay?
No way are you picking sugar cookies.
No, I like a good melt in your mouth sugar cookie is the recipe Sarah has. I like those. A frosted sugar cookie is also an excellent experience.
It is.
But it's not my choice.
Okay,
I
what
would
is it?
choose white chocolate macadamia nut.
Wow.
Okay, solid
It's my
choice.
favorite cookie.
I had several of those Sunday. We had an event for a lady at our church, and I was helping make cookies or make coffee, and they were also setting up cookies in the kitchen. So I helped myself.
Obviously. I don't discriminate against cookies. I'll eat any cookie there is.
Pretty much.
Well, and the assistant principal, Mrs. Boskeljohn at Summit Christian School, made an interesting choice. She said, my favorite is one that most other people kind of scowl at. Hers is oatmeal raisin.
See, I like the oatmeal part of oatmeal raisin. I don't like raisins, though.
That's a cookie I will discriminate against.
I will make oatmeal raisin without the raisin because I like the rest of it.
The oatmeal I'm down for. The raisins, those don't belong there. They don't belong.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I want to
Make
like
oatmeal
raisins.
chocolate chip.
Yeah, I've done that before too. Real good.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I did tell her that while I disagreed with the taste issue, it's an interesting choice because there's no competition for her. Like, she's never going to be in want for an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Oh, totally. She's always going to have a cookie.
Because those are always left.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, maybe it's a strategic choice for her. Oh. Because she knows she'll never be cookieless.
That's right.
I'd rather be cookieless than eat oatmeal raisin cookies. I hate raisins.
Yeah, if that's all that's on the tray, I'm just not going to get a cookie.
I'm good without.
Oh, that's not stopping me.
Wow. Yeah,
I'll be like, oh, that's okay.
I'd probably
don't
still
need
eat
a cookie
one.
anyway.
I'd probably still eat one. Yeah. There's a peanut butter cookie Sarah makes that she actually won't make for me.
I guess you eat them all?
No.
That's rude.
Because it's so unhealtzy. It's like half Crisco or something.
75 sticks of butter.
Do it with all butter.
Yeah, well,
butter's better for you, and it tastes better.
we had years ago. We had this couple come visit us from Minnesota, and she made it like a quadruple batch of those things. I'm like, what's this about? She goes, well, Mike that's coming over, he loves them. I go, excuse me.
She won't make them for her husband that loves them.
She goes, I don't care if he has a heart attack. I'm worried about you.
We'll clog his arteries, not yours.
I thought it was just a riot. I thought it was so funny. But yeah, so I've decided. I feel good about it.
I'm happy for you.
Did you know Subway restaurants actually makes the best?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
White chocolate macadamia.
Yeah,
nut?
those are pretty good.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean, they're supposed to be the best at sandwiches.
Well, they're not that anymore either, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true.
They changed the menu, and I'm not against it. I kind of enjoy the experience.
Kyle just said, you guys just crushed my oatmeal raisin cookies. Sad face. Well, Kyle, get a better choice.
That's more left for you, buddy.
What do you think is psychologically behind that choice? Not just for him, for anyone who chooses that. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm healthy now.
Right.
I
don't think it's about health.
Plenty of butter and sugar in there. Some people just like it.
I don't know.
I like oatmeal. I don't want raisins in my cookie.
I think there's something about it where someone tells themselves, I'm going to make the healthy choice, and the rest of these heathens are going to be unhealthy. And it's just, the raisins are in there as a deceptive lie. Like, oh,
But
look at
they're
me, I'm
healthy.
healthy. There's fruit in here.
Right. Oatmeal and fruit. Rather, if you choose a sugar cookie, what am I going to eat? Sugar.
Yeah.
If I'm going
that's
to eat
not
oatmeal,
healthy.
it's going to be hot with fruits in it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, look, it's a healthy breakfast
hot,
disguised as a cookie.
soupy cereal,
Yes,
hot
exactly.
cereal.
So Ron's with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to drag you with me, but you're all in.
I agree with you. Breakfast and a cookie. Kyle's with us, I'm sure.
Oatmeal raisin cookies are like it's the bologna of cookies.
It's basically what a granola bar is.
Bologna
bologna of
is the
cookies.
only meat synonymous with lies. I think Christians ought to stay far away from
Oh,
that.
please.
We're supposed God. It's one of the things God hates in
What
Proverbs.
about spam? Junk?
Well, spam is honest.
Spam is junk.
It's pretending to be no. It's not pretending to be anything but what it is, which is not really meat. It's not ham. It's spam. It's like I don't know what's in here.
Sort of ham.
Have some. It's in a can. We don't know why. It's getting crazy here. Okay.
Whoa, pumpkin chocolate chip cookie. I could be down for that.
I'd
could
give
be
that a
down for
try.
that.
In
Daria, you are going to make those this year.
All right.
in May though, don't we have to wait till fall?
You're going to
for a
have to
pumpkin
wait till
cookie?
probably October.
Yeah, I don't know if I want pumpkin anytime but the fall. Ron's like, I'll have it any day.
I'll eat pumpkins anytime. I don't know what you're talking about. Another pumpkin cookie. Come on.
One time I made the mistake, by the way, circling back to raisins, of like getting snacks for the kids.
Circling back to raisins.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'll get these snacks. I bet the kids would love to have some raisins in the house. The boxes of raisins. You know, with the girl on it wearing a bonnet?
Yes.
Sunmaid.
Sunmaid.
You should be her for Halloween this year.
Okay.
That would be really fun.
Dress my
actually.
children up as raisons.
That'd be adorable.
I love it. We've decided. Look at us.
Eddie's the basket.
That'd be awesome. But they didn't eat them.
Yeah.
Kids don't want raisins.
Kids don't want raisins.
It's just toddlers. You kind of forced to eat them. You're like, oh, look at this. It looks like chocolate. Eat
Get
it.
stuff moving along here.
All right, it's 6:18 coming up in a minute. I've got a whole bunch of graduations in my life. You probably do as well. It's graduation season, so we'll talk about advice for graduates.
Family. That word stirs up affection and at times angst. There is brokenness in every family, but no brokenness is too big for God. Join Bible teacher Erin Davis in her new study, The Story of Joseph. Through all the messy dysfunction, discover God's perfect plan for Joseph and for you. Order your copy of The Story of Joseph. Open your Bible and see how the Lord is building a beautiful family for His glory. Find it now at moodybooks.org.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support from our listeners and businesses like Fellowship Home Loans. They'll talk about the numbers as well as your hopes, dreams, and the market's reality. Home is where the heart is. It's where families grow and where dreams are born. More information is at 800-804-7283. That's 800-804-SAVE or fellowshiphomeloans.com. Welcome home.
Hey, my name is Brant Hansen. I'm an author and radio guy who did something about 15 years ago that changed my life. That is when I first visited a Cure International Children's Hospital. What Cure is doing to heal the sick and proclaim the kingdom is so brilliant. It's so profound. It is the most Jesus-shaped ministry I've ever seen. More people need to know about it, so I'm really glad you're hearing about it right now on Moody Radio. Please check it out online. It's cure.org/Moody. That's cure.org/Moody.
Get out of the sheets and into the streets. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
623, advice for graduates. It's that time of year where they get advice from commencement speakers, grandpas, grandmas, neighbors, everybody. Before we get there, though, I have to bring up that there was a Lauren sighting yesterday in Cuyahoga Falls.
Alert.
Lauren's been driving our station vehicle,
Yes.
and we've been telling you to watch for it. It's out there. Lauren's face is on
Zipping
it.
around.
And she was sighted.
I was.
But they thought it was me driving, I think.
Yeah, the windows are pretty dark, so you can't see.
Yeah, it's not that you and I look alike and like we could be confused for each other.
No.
But you also had the misfortune of taking it for a checkup.
I had to go take the car to get an oil change, just like routine checkup, fluids, make sure it's doing good. And I went to go check out to pay. And he said, "So, what's it like driving around with a car with your face on it?" I was like, "Oh, not great."
Yeah, people think, "Oh, that'd be so cool." No,
not after like the
really
first
not.
day.
Not cool.
You feel like you're always being stared at.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird.
And thankfully, as this person has told us, the windows are too tinted. You can't see that it's me. So you could see me on the side, and then you wouldn't see that it was also me inside.
And she's driving around the Cuyahoga Falls area.
Oh, yeah, every day, all day.
So be on the lookout. Maybe go for a midday drive.
Right.
Just to see if you can find her. Honk at her if you see her.
You won't miss it.
I have had two people honk, and they're like friendly honks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't do regular
and nothing
honks
else is
here.
like going around, like nothing's happening. And so I have wondered if those were for me too.
Yeah,
but-
they are.
Well, we don't know that.
Lauren, people don't honk at each other in Northeast
They're like,
Ohio
beep, beep.
unless there's an absolute emergency.
Yeah, no, the beep beep, that's hello.
Yeah, it was a friendly honk. Just don't know if it's for me or not.
So give her a little beep beep, you know?
Yeah.
So
And
do
then
that.
another person flashed their lights at me. And it wasn't because there was a cop down the road. Because there was no cop. So I wonder if that was a friendly hello as well.
I only learned that code recently. I don't know where I've been my whole life.
Yes.
But the flashing your brights? You
Yeah, like,
didn't...
I thought
No,
people
like,
were just being rude,
If
flashing
there's
their brights at me.
you're passing someone and they've just passed a cop, they'll like
Or
flicker
some
their
other
lights at
hazard.
you. Yeah.
We're not encouraging that, or we're not commentating on that at all. We're just saying it's a thing.
No, it happens. That it's a
Right.
thing that has happened.
Yes.
It
Do it
happens
or
to-
not.
It happens to me often. There's a
It's
lot of
between you
cops
and the Lord.
on my drive.
Oh yeah. By the way, they also on someone at ODOT or the Turnpike or whatever decided to make my drive even worse now.
Oh no.
I
How
had
could it be?
two sections down to 50 miles an hour that they just tied together. They never let you go faster. They're very long sections. No one's ever working on them. They added another one down to one lane.
Yeah.
So now I just spend the entire drive going 50. 50. Like it's like slower than they had to drive in the 70s.
Right. Yeah, because Jimmy Carter put that 55 mile an hour speed limit on everything.
Yeah.
To save fuel.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, you weren't alive yet.
So it's now objectively
True.
worse than the 70s. For me, on my drive.
I guess you got a point.
Okay. Wild week for me. My
Okay.
second born, Marshall, my oldest son, graduates from high school this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. I didn't realize this. I have 2 graduations this summer. My son, Marshall, graduates from high school on Saturday. All the parents are coming. My parents, my in-laws, they're all coming together. This is a party at the Hiram Inn, by the way, where they're staying. They're all at the same place. It's crazy. So my oldest daughter, Grace, graduates from advanced infantry training in the U.S. Army in July. So I have 2 graduations. Did you guys get lots of advice when you graduated from things? Some of you all did. I think you all have college degrees. So yeah, high school or college, it's all similar advice.
Yeah, none at all.
None?
No.
You didn't pay attention to the melodramatic speech?
Well, so I graduated during COVID, so we had a drive-through graduation, so it was an entirely different experience.
Wow.
Oh, right.
It was actually fun. I much preferred that to sitting in an auditorium for hours upon hours. I was sitting in my brother's graduation a couple years later, which was norm. I'm like, mine was better because it was faster.
Yeah. I mean, it's great at James A. Garfield schools because their classes are less than 100 people. So it's a quick moving experience. I graduated with 650 people. And so it took forever.
Yeah.
And the high school choir literally went up in their graduation gowns and sang R. Kelly's I Believe I Can Fly.
Of course.
Because that's what we're
what you're
doing now.
doing. Uh-huh.
We're graduating high school, and then we're flying.
We're flying.
We're touching the sky, following our dreams. Wow. Did you get any advice, Lauren?
Probably. I don't remember what it was. Because
memorable, helpful.
Because I worked in the events department at Moody, I've seen so many graduations, undergrad and graduate school. I don't remember what was mine and what was somebody else's.
Was there any memorable good advice?
No.
I always have been fearful that, and it's a silly fear because I don't know why someone would do this, that I'd be asked to speak at a commencement ceremony. Like, what do you say?
I don't know.
Except a series of cliches.
Great job.
Follow your dreams, everyone.
You did it.
Not all of you will achieve them.
Here's a poem about dreams. Love, Brian.
I hope that debt is worth it.
Yes.
I don't know what you say.
Let me read to you from Dr. Seuss, the places
you'll go.
Yeah.
Of course.
Now, Ron, I'm sure you got good advice.
I probably did.
Eastwood Excavating must have had some sort of moment for you.
And over the weekend, Daria found Eastwood furniture, too. So
you guys are doing everything.
It's
a monopoly.
That's another branch of the tree, so to speak. I have heard a lot of really good commencement speeches. I don't remember what mine was, either high school or college. But I remember one guy a couple rows ahead of me was sweating profusely. And I was watching his gown get darker in the back.
Oh, that's sad.
I liked watching how some of the women would try to find a way to get the mortarboard hat, like on the back of their head.
Yeah, with enough clips.
Yeah, they did try it.
So we could do our hair in the front.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like facing the wrong direction.
Yeah.
No mortar is staying on that mortarboard as you travel up a ladder.
No,
which is what they were for, by the way.
Oh.
Originally. Fun fact for you.
On your head, though.
Yeah. I think that's how they carried the mortar up when they went up in the olden days. I don't know, Ron. I wasn't around in the olden days.
So the mason's apprentice would be carrying that on his head while he's got buckets in his arms.
You go up the ladder, and then you slap it on there, and you're making your brick wall, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I had a couple graduation ceremonies. None of them were that. I don't remember the advice. But I'm finding that all the cliche advice leaves me a bit wanting. I'm a little disoriented because I feel like the advice I got as a kid and that everybody thinks to give is just not all that helpful, and nor is it really all that true anymore. You know, we live in an odd era, especially now that I look at all the articles about AI. It's like, get ready to have no value at the office.
Yeah.
Like employees don't matter anymore. AI. Yeah. So, yay, go follow your dreams. Just kidding, don't, because AI will take them. So what I want to do in a few minutes is see if we can give some godly advice. And I actually have some from the Wall Street Journal. Figure they've got their head screwed on correctly, right? They have the writer has 6 different pieces of advice that we can go through as a team and see what we think of it. We'll do that together in just a minute.
Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I'm Darcy Harrod, and this is Pause for Prayer. Moses prayed these words in Psalm 90, asking God to help him live with the end in mind. When we think about death, it doesn't have to be morbid. It brings clarity, perspective. When we remember that life on earth is short, we start living for what truly matters. And as believers, we don't live for this world. We live in light of eternity. This life is not the end. It is the beginning. Let's pause for prayer. Father, you remind us in James 4:14 that our lives are like a mist, here for a little while and then gone. But eternity is forever. Forgive us for clinging to what is temporary and losing sight of what is eternal. We chase comfort, approval, and busyness when we should be chasing you. Psalm 90:12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Give us that wisdom, Lord. Help us live today in light of forever. 2 Corinthians 4:18 says, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Shape our lives around that truth. Help us to loosen our grip on this world and long for what lasts. Let us be bold to speak truth, quick to love others, and faithful to follow you. Remind us that heaven is real. Eternity is coming, and this life is just the doorway. Lord, help us not waste our numbered days. Let us live with purpose now and with joy for what's to come. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
In this culture full of contradictions and false teachings, how do we align our hearts with God and His Word? For answers, we have a letter for you to read. Paul's letters to the Ephesians and Colossians. This May, join Today in the Word and devotional author David Sutton for our study, Chosen in Christ. Join this month's study. Go to todayintheword.com or download the new and improved Today in the Word app.
Download the all-new app at todayintheword.org or in your app store.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.637 WCRF, and it's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation studios. All right, so it's graduation season. I've got my son graduating from high school on Saturday, and then my daughter graduates from sort of college / the Army on July in July. And I'm looking for some solid advice here in 2025 for graduates. So I'm going to take you through some Wall Street Journal advice and see what you think of this. Because I'm a bit disoriented not knowing what kind of advice to give these days. First one, the guy that wrote this says, follow your dreams, not your fairy tales. As in, he says, the New York Yankees probably won't take you as their center fielder. But if you really want to work around professional sports,
okay,
you can do that.
Right.
Because there's so many jobs related to professional sports. Our friend Pastor Scott Lessing worked for the Boston Red Sox.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know why he would make that kind of decision for that team, but he did work for them. So does that mean you like that? Follow your dreams, not your fairy tales.
Yeah, that's good. I do think we owe it to high schoolers. Like, once you get into high school, we can be realistic. You don't need to tell every kid that they're going to do exactly what they want to do because, let's face it, many of them are not. And that's okay.
Well, and that's where I don't even know if I like follow your dreams anymore. It's so me-focused. And it's so, I don't know, you could spend tons of money, get in tons of debt to follow your dream.
Yeah.
What?
You look at all the auditions for American Idol. Oh, it's always been my dream since I was a child to be a singer.
And they're terrible.
Yeah.
No one told them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell your kids they're bad at stuff. Well, that's honestly part of it.
You push them in a different direction.
Yeah, no, by the time they get to their teen years, we can have some honest conversations about what you as an individual can realistically be expected to achieve. Because, I mean, there's only so many slots in the, prestigious position that you want. And I think we're sending kids out with a completely unrealistic expectation of life and how hard work is.
I wonder if follow your dreams, not your fairy tales is even still too inflated. Why not find a career that you might enjoy?
Yeah,
I like that. I like that better than follow your dreams. Just sounds so unrealistic.
Yeah.
It's a good idea to find something that you enjoy. Realize that maybe something you enjoy is not going to make you rich. There are different paths to take, and if you want a high salary job, you're going to have to work hard to get it. You're likely going to have to get advanced degrees, et cetera, et cetera. But you might end up hating that.
Yeah.
And you can, adjust your dreams so that instead of that, McMansion that you're planning to have, you're going to have a small starter home to start your family. And when you outgrow that, hopefully your salary is caught up to where you can afford bigger payments. And, be realistic about your dream.
Well, go ahead.
And maybe you achieve your dream, but you realize you're miserable because your job demands so much of you. You don't have time to, spend with friends or start a family or anything like that.
Yeah. And I've had this odd experience where I feel like American culture, the way we raise kids, prevents them from even seeing what their options are. Like the general mode for kids is compel them to be highly achieving academically, pick a sport, and make them the best at that. And when they're done, they're exposed to what? One sport and academics. I'm a little disoriented in a few things with my kids. Like, for example, my daughter choosing the Army. And as I watch her do this, I'm kind of like, gosh, it's kind of cool. I didn't even consider that. Mm-hmm. I don't blame my parents, by the way. I blame the Vietnam War. I've told my dad that specifically. It wasn't an option for me because of that. Mm-hmm. Now, and then I look at, I love working around our little property. I'm building a chicken coop right now, and I love it. I never would have known that. How would I have known this? And now I'm not saying I regret doing this. I love doing this too, but it's like, goodness gracious.
Your dreams can change as you get older.
Then how could somebody who's 18 even have possibly experienced enough things to know what their dreams are?
Yeah, and I really didn't start coming out of my shell until I was 17. I was pretty shy. And I am not shy.
No, you're not.
Anymore. And so at 16, I wouldn't have chosen to do anything that I've done now because I was so shy.
Yeah, no, I was the same way. I was probably 19 or 20 by the time I started to come out of my shell.
Yeah.
Realized, hey, talking's kind of cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So find something you enjoy for a career and take your time getting there. Mm-hmm. So against the norm to say something like that.
And don't be afraid to make a radical shift.
Yeah.
I remember because I had a couple friends that were always having crises when we were in college about I don't know what I want to do. The example I would always use was my dad, who went to school for graphic design, decided sometime after I was born he wanted to completely change paths, got his master's in counseling, and then spent 20 years as a career counselor.
Wow. Yeah,
totally different, direction.
Sarah and I aren't using any of our degrees. I mean, we're using them. but not in the field in which they are designed.
Right.
Another piece of advice, keep a positive outlook. And then he gives this I thought this was hilarious. The mother of one of the cardinals who was just in the conclave in Rome, his Cardinal Pirbista Pisbala, I butchered that, was his mom was relieved at the outcome. Here's what she said. Thank goodness it's not him, so I can see him a little and he can come back home. I promised him the polenta, she said to reporters.
Must be some good polenta.
But that's I love it. Keep a positive outlook. I think the Lord would smile at that one. Things might get rough. You may not get what you want, but there's a positive behind it. You're not Pope? Well, good. You can go home and have mom's polenta.
There you go.
There you go. I like that. Another piece of advice. Here's something nobody probably told you in school, the Wall Street Journal says. Work is worthwhile in itself. You won't be happy in life without a useful occupation. I read all the time that today's young people seek a work-life balance. Fine. But it's up to you, not your employer, to find that balance. Leisure loses its meaning without labor as an offset. Your thoughts are lighter after a hard day's work.
Yes, that's very good.
Yeah, I agree with that. I enjoy a good vacation and they're important, but after so much time off, I am ready to go back. Because I just, I start to feel useless and kind of mentally sluggish. You need something to keep you mentally challenged and physically going.
And I think that's a good message in this day and age where I think the writer is correct that younger people are seeking more like, how can I get the most possible leisure time and do all the things for me? Now, it's a reaction to older folks like Ron and me and our generation is doing it terribly.
Right.
It's like, be the first one there, the last time. It's an overcorrection. A good hard day's work, and that, again, thoroughly biblical. Work hard as if you're working for the Lord. Ecclesiastes talks about, work hard.
I mean, before sin even entered the world, we were made to work.
Right. People forget that part.
And there is something like, if I spend all day working around our little hobby farm, at the end of the day, there's something just great about it. Like the satisfaction of, I worked hard today. Can you imagine just always being at leisure?
No.
Yuck.
Boring. There's a little bit more advice. We'd be curious, what would you tell somebody?
Chef Ken said, learn how to be content.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
That's great advice. What would you tell graduates, whether it's high school, college, tech school, Army, whatever it is? 440-546-2255.
Encourage Foster Care is a private, faith-based foster care agency located in 13 counties throughout Northeast and Central Ohio. Every month, Encourage receives dozens of requests for foster homes in Northeast Ohio. Due to the lack of foster homes, they are forced to turn away up to 80 children a month. Encourage is currently working to expand their services and support. Learn how you can be a part of the solution and help create hope for the community at buildinghopecampaign.org.
The world is changing fast. AI, global crises, and shifting cultural landscapes are shaping future generations in ways that are hard to imagine. The question isn't if change is coming. The question is, how will we respond? Join Moody Bible Institute this May in Chicago for Future Church, preaching and leading the next generation. This powerful conference will equip you with dynamic preaching methods and cutting-edge leadership strategies to reach that next generation. Register now at moodyconferences.com. That's moodyconferences.com.
Wondering what it looks like to apply deep doctrinal truths to your life? Check out the course on the book of Romans from Moody and Rich, our continuing education platform. This course will cover topics like the universality of sin, union with Christ, the Christian's service, and much more. This is a text-based, self-paced e-course that you can enroll in today for just $34.99. Learn more and enroll at moody.edu/enrich.
Your day is starting off strong with Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
650 WCRF. Advice for graduates, as I'm thinking about it pretty intensely as my oldest son, Marshall, graduates from high school on Saturday.
Yay, Marshall.
I want him to be excited, and he's not.
That's not really his vibes.
Like, his friend came over the other day. I'm like, you got to help me get Marshall excited. You graduate on Saturday. And he's like, ugh. It's like, my dad wants me to be excited. And like, you should be excited. It's exciting.
Marshall's pretty low-key.
He's totally low-key. He's taking a gap year, by the way, and I'm thrilled.
Yeah, figure out what he wants to do.
He
so
loves
to go to work,
yeah,
have a job and everything.
He's going to work for a
Good
year,
for him.
and I want him to work for a year to kind of help him refine what he wants to do.
Right.
He loves the arts, and I'm not ready for him, and he's not ready to jump into mountains of debt before he can really refine his search. So I'm thrilled he's taking a gap year. And then my oldest daughter, Grace, graduates from advanced infantry training in the U.S. Army in July. You always get commencement speeches with advice. My favorite commencement speech, by the way, is Will Ferrell, the comedian, when he was the commencement speaker for USC, where he graduated with a sports information degree.
Oh, my goodness.
What is that?
You just made it up.
Sports information. And it was a riot.
You're like a PR director for college sports directory or high school sports even. It's a legit job.
So you like athletic director?
No, you're the information director. So you put out the press releases, you tell all the newspapers.
Sounds like marketing.
It kind of is. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's funny that Will Ferrell has that degree. How about that? I'm not saying the degree itself is. If you have that degree, I'm proud of you. But the funny part of it, of course, he's saying far too many lyrics of "I Will Always Love You" by Whitney Houston.
He sang during the speech?
Oh, he sang like a significant portion of it and would get fake angry at the crowd when they start laughing. But just him giving advice was hilarious because he's not using his degree from USC at all.
Yes.
So some more advice from the Wall Street Journal. Some say life is short. It gets short eventually, but you're in your early 20s. It's long. The relationship you build with colleagues at your first and second jobs will stay with you for decades. Rivals become collaborators, interns become bosses. It's a good idea to be nice to everybody. You never know who you'll end up working for one day.
Yeah, that's good.
And I hadn't thought of my first job this way, but my teaching job was so formative. And I have such a love for some of those colleagues who literally rescued me from total failure. I went in after the first semester of teaching high school, I went into a colleague to talk to Sarah Garcia. She'd been teaching a number of years before me. And I sat down when the kids were gone and I said, I don't think I'm going to make it. I can hardly keep my head above water. I don't know what I'm doing. And she goes, no problem. I got you. I'm going to give you my lesson plans every day next semester, and we're going to teach the same thing every day.
Aww.
Wow.
She rescued me. And her and a bunch of other teachers did similar things for me where they're right. Those first jobs you have, people get so angsty about being in the best job, the best position. It's more the experience of the first job that'll just form you, you know?
Yeah.
So I love that advice. Next one. When things go wrong, as they inevitably will, focus on the things you can control. Be on time. Be of good cheer. Be helpful. The way you get ahead at work is to take things off the plate of the person above you on the org chart. It's easy to figure out what those things are. Watch. Pay attention. It's fine to offer your own ideas, but consider this. Nobody ever listened himself out of a job. I'm a little on the fence on this advice.
What's like can you give like the key, what's the advice again?
They're like, the way to get ahead is to take stuff off the plate of the person ahead of you on the org chart.
Oh.
And also focus on what you can control.
Yeah, both of those. I guess it's two separate pieces of advice.
Yeah. I would say not take things off the plate, but offer, like for us, Josh, I see you're really busy this week. Can I sit in on a manager's meeting for you? He would say no to that. But things like that you're looking at your boss, seeing what you can do to help them. And in turn, you're getting experience at his level of work, and he's getting the benefit of knowing that you're a capable worker when he is ready to promote someone.
But my question becomes, is that advice true anymore? It used to be true.
There's some good pieces in there, but that specific part about how you get ahead, I don't think that's true anymore.
In an era of everybody's downsizing, like, I would say, remember you're expendable is better advice than take other people's work, load off of them because it'll get you ahead. No, it won't. I'm sorry, it probably won't.
No, what they'll do is they'll just keep giving you work, and then once you leave, they'll replace you with 3 people.
It's like Lucy in the chocolate assembly line. Oh, let me give you more since you're doing so well at that.
Exactly.
But this is the hard part about giving advice, right? Because I think the writer of this probably also came up in an era where that was true.
Sure. It absolutely was at one point. I just don't think in this era it is.
In a bigger organization where there's a lot of people at your level, you have to stand out to be the one that doesn't get downsized. But in a smaller organization, it doesn't matter. If there's 3 of you and he needs to cut 3, out you go.
Yeah, but I think you stumbled into some good advice there. Work hard so that when they make cuts, it's not you. As opposed to work hard because that's how you get ahead.
Yeah.
No, it's not how you get ahead. It's how you avoid being cut.
They just give you more work if you work hard.
It's a tough thing, but it's true.
Yeah.
I've watched it happen to my wife, and I've seen it happen to you, Lauren, where you do such a good job that when you leave, they hire 2 people, and you just about want to jump off a cliff because you're so stressed out when you were there.
Or the things you were complaining about, they somehow find a solution, and you're like, I was complaining about these.
Well, it's a problem now that it's in their lap.
Right.
When it was in yours, they didn't care.
What about focus on things you can control? What
That's
do you say?
good.
But from a faith perspective, right? Technically, you control nothing.
Well, you can control your attitude.
Darius Swisher. Yeah, and I think that's really great. You really have to have a positive outlook. You've got to trust that God's got you, and he's got you where you are for a purpose. So stop complaining. That's better advice than take somebody else's work for them and wait for them to promote you. Finally, most of all, stay put. If you jump to a new position every 6 months, you won't learn much. Bloom where you're planted. The future can take care of itself only if you hold on to your end of the bargain and do the job that's in front of you.
Again, maybe outdated. If you want to increase salary, you have to go to another place because your company is not going to give you a decent raise.
Yeah, I mean, you at the same time, you also don't want a reputation as a job hopper.
Yeah.
But also, I do think it is a bit outdated. If you do want significant raises in this day and age, you do have to change jobs every several years. That's unfortunately just kind of how it works.
Yeah, I guess part of my general disorientation at the moment, and it's not like, don't worry, you don't have to call for help or something. I'm just I'm thinking through that Sarah and I are experiencing the natural consequence of our approach. You know, when you raise kids and you start to launch them, you really are put face to face with what you were trying to do. And one of the things we tried to do was we were pretty intent on not compelling our kids to do the things that we wanted them to do or that we did. And the consequence of that is they make decisions that you would never anticipate, and they do things you don't know anything about.
Like join the military.
Yeah. It's a little disorienting.
Yeah, because you don't know anything about it. You don't have advice to give. It's her own personal experience. New personal experience.
And yet I'm finding that that's helping me transition as a parent.
To kind of let go.
Yeah. What am I going to tell her?
Nothing.
And she knows I can't tell her anything. And so all I can be is supportive of who she is and her character. But I have no advice for her. I've never been compelled to do a push-up.
Yeah, just keep your head down.
Yeah, do what you're told. So I don't know. I mean, I suppose you're at the end of this, Lauren, where you're not totally able to be reflective on this, but the decisions you and Eddie make now actually do have an end point.
Yeah.
It's wild. When you spend so many years with your head down in the grind with kids, you just kind of go, yeah, these philosophies matter because they live it out. It really does matter how you model your faith to your kids and how you approach things. Did you go through this? Or you're not, and this is not a critique, you're not generally a real reflective person, right? You're just kind of, you're looking forward. You don't look back very often.
Yep.
And that's not, I think it's a positive attribute. It's just different.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, like, the boys were definitely involved in things. Ryan in theater, Mark in soccer. Jenna, not so much, but she ended up finding her way in college and did really well. Mark he did 1 year of college and said, nope, debt's growing too fast. I don't feel like I'm getting what I pay for. So he's finding his way. And Ryan, because of his being such a performer, has done really well with his job in the hair industry.
Well, but you guys, I think you had a similar philosophy to what Sarah and I did. I don't know how intentional it was, but your kids all went their own way. They didn't become what you wanted them to be.
Yeah, none of them played football. And that was the only sport I played. Well, I did throw track a little bit, shot put and discus. But, yeah, I did theater, but not anywhere to the extent that Ryan has.
I mean, I love music. I spent so much of my life really focusing on music. I still love music. None of my kids are musicians. Not in the serious sense. They're in band or something, and there's nothing wrong with that. Hello. But it's odd because that's just, I don't know. I'm living it out, people. Pray for me. And I'm thrilled for my son. I'm proud of him that he's making the courageous step to do a gap year.
That's smart.
Yeah. It's 7:02. It's time to get to Ron's news. And today's Moron Moment is something to listen to, especially if you're new to us or maybe don't even know where that comes from. Okay, we'll talk more about that. Plus, we got more of the show coming in a minute.
There's joy in the journey. It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Netflix will show viewers the way to Sesame Street later this year. It's 7:03. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The streaming giant announced yesterday it has reached a deal for the exclusive worldwide premiere rights for the long-running children's show. Episodes of the show's 56th season will hit Netflix the same day they premiere on PBS stations. An Akron firefighter is suing the city and the fire department, claiming he has been the victim of age, gender, and racial discrimination. 57-year-old Captain Michael Haas, who is white, says he was passed over for a promotion to deputy chief in favor of a younger black female candidate. And Sharon Regional Medical Center in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, is reporting receipt of an $11 million boost. Hospital leaders report the recently opened or reopened facility is already growing with the addition of a dozen more beds in their critical care unit in the coming weeks. In sports, the Guardians and Twins didn't get to finish last night. The game was suspended in the bottom of the fourth due to rain. The Pirates did finish their game, and they got crushed by the Reds, 7-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny this morning, then mostly cloudy, with a chance of showers this afternoon. Highs in the mid-60s. At last check, we had mostly cloudy skies in Cleveland, 46 degrees. Clear skies most everywhere else, 42 the temperature in Akron and Canton, 42 in Worcester as well.
It's time for your Moron Moment.
With new listeners joining us all the time, we felt it was a good idea to explain this part of my news. Listeners have sometimes called in to say, we need more Ron. And at least once, Brian has erupted into a cheer of, more Ron, more Ron. On one of those occasions, I suggested he run those words a little faster together to get to the real me. Of course, it was just a lighthearted joke, and everyone got a good laugh. When we decided that I would add a little something extra to the newscast, we felt that a perfect name would be the More Ron Moment, and that's how this came to be. As Paul Harvey used to say, and now you know the rest of the story. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:06 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcast.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.709 WCRF Mornings with Brian. Our society has decided that there is a default parent, and it's mom. And we're going to talk about that because The Atlantic thinks it's a problem, and I wonder whether it's biblical. But first, speaking of parenting, Lauren had a spiritual discussion with her son Trey yesterday.
Yes, we are heavy in our Toy Story era currently.
It becomes a thing. Those are great movies.
Yeah, they are. I'd love to watch the other ones, but we're only stuck on one.
Well, yeah, you're going to watch it 18,000 times.
That's right. And then maybe we'll move on to 2.
Isn't that where You Got a Friend in Me came from?
Yes.
I think Ron has that in there, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, so you recall the boy next door, the neighbor boy, Sid. He's the bad kid. He's like dismembering toys.
Those poor toys.
Yeah.
So they're scared of going over there.
Yeah, all the toys are scared of getting over into Sid's yard. We were watching Toy Story. We weren't doing anything Toy Story yesterday. And my 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old, says to me, "Hey, Mom, does Sid have God in his body?
Oh.
And I was like, well, I can't know that because I don't know Sid. So I haven't had a conversation and asked him, but I said, but the character traits and the things that Sid does makes me think that Sid does not have God in his body. He's pretty mean. He's not nice to his sister. He's harming toys. So it doesn't seem like he does, but I can't know.
It seems like you would host a podcast called Car Seat Questions because you handled that so well. That's great.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Trying to teach him like I can't go around judging other people if they have God in their body or not.
Well, as an adult too, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but you realize Sid's not just a jerk. It seems like he's got a pretty rough home life.
Yes.
He does?
Yeah. You didn't notice?
I don't. I mean, it's been a long time since
He's
I
a
saw
scary
the
room.
first one, so I don't remember Sid very well.
I mean, you don't really see his parents. I do think you get a brief glimpse of his dad, who doesn't seem like a good person, if I'm remembering correctly.
You hear mom say, Sid, your Pop-Tarts are ready. And that's about it.
Okay. And he's over there torturing toys.
Yes.
But see, to me, I said off the air to you, I think it shows you and Eddie are doing a great job, for goodness sakes, because
Thank you.
in his little mind, he's beginning to understand the indwelling of the Holy Spirit and the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wasn't even close to thinking about that.
That there are things
when
that
my kids were that age.
There are things that should show if you're in Christ or not. He also did ask me, because I was, watching updates about the new pope. And so he asked me one time, what's this? And I was like, oh, well, this is a new pope. Here's what the pope is, blah, blah. And he goes, oh gosh. He said, oh, so kind of like Jesus. And I said, no, it's not. Let me tell you about what it is like. So we had a whole conversation about the pope and what it is and what it isn't. So.
And then he probably was like, can I have more snacks?
Yes, exactly. He just moved on with his life.
He's a curious kid, though. So
He's very curious.
And that's part of the origin story, by the way, of your podcast series with your husband, Eddie, from Moody Radio.
Yeah, it's a podcast for parents of curious kids.
It's called Car Seat Questions.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of seasons of fabulous advice from theologians on how to talk to kids about things like fruits of the Spirit and indwelling of the Holy Spirit.
Yep. And Satan.
Which is why you nailed it.
Yeah.
So for more information, go to the internet.
You can find Car Seat Questions wherever you get your podcasts. Also on moodyradio.org/Cleveland. It's there on the homepage.
So The Atlantic wrote an article called The Default Parent Problem. And it declares pretty clearly that our society's decided mom is the default parent. How does that resonate with your thinking?
I would agree.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not asking for commentary yet, but
Okay.
yeah. Like, no, in terms of like how you feel about that, but yeah, you're agreeing. So Sarah will intentionally put me down as the emergency contact and first contact and everything.
Because you're available nearby in the afternoons.
Well, and also without calling it that, she's annoyed by the default parent problem. Like, why should she be called about everything?
For everything, yeah.
She has a partner in raising children, and it's me.
Yep.
But guess what? Guess who the school calls every time? No matter if I'm listed first or not, they call her every single time. If they call me, we get excited.
They did it.
I got a call from the elementary school the other day, and I called up Sarah right afterwards. I was like, "Guess what? They called me."
They did it.
She's like, "Wow, that's so great." But they always call mom.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, kids default to mom. We've talked about like sleeping closest to the door, and they'll go around the bed so they can wake up mom and ask her the question.
Story of my life.
Mom, I'm sick.
Well,
Dad's right there.
My kids will walk up. Hey, is mom here? No. Oh, okay. Never mind. Whoa.
Then I don't have a question.
Excuse me. You could ask me. All right. Part of it's I say no more often.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I always asked my mom first because I knew she was going to say yes. My dad was going to say no.
See, that's a mom problem. Isn't it?
Well, I think it's just maybe mom doesn't care as much as dad is whatever that is.
Maybe mom's just learned to pick her battles better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easier to pick a battle if you just say no all the time. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's a mom problem. It's now that you've made me rethink that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm just not worried if you wear shoes outside or not. So whatever, go outside without shoes.
If you get hurt, you'll learn and do better next time.
So the writer of this piece for The Atlantic called The Default Parent Problem had a couple of anecdotes I thought you guys would enjoy. One of them, a guy named Austin Estes took his sick infant son to urgent care, and he was struggling to change the kid's diaper in the exam room that did not have a changing table. And the nurse was like, "Oh, if only Mom was here."
Oh, no.
I think Mom would struggle to change a baby on her lap, too.
Yeah, and he's like thinking, well, wait.
No, it's just dirty in here.
Like, why would she do better at this than me? And then somebody else, a guy named Justin, he's somewhere in Los Angeles. He's the primary intake for the paperwork for his child's pediatrician's office. But the staff frequently ignore that and call the mom. He said, they usually reach out to my wife, who either tries to handle things, sometimes without the full context, patches me into the conversation, or tells them to call me. Exactly the sort of inefficient experience we want to avoid by listing me as the first call.
Right.
There was another story in there where he called in his daughter sick to school, and then the school called the mom to confirm.
Yeah, didn't believe him.
It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think some of it's like a historical trend that mom always handles stuff with the kids. She's the one who knows when the doctor appointments are and when the kid had his last tetanus shot and all of that. And dads typically don't know that stuff.
Yeah, for so long, dads weren't involved the way they are today. But I think we've pretty well moved past that. But some people, I guess, just can't let go of that old notion. I don't think modern sitcoms help because they, I mean, even more recent ones such as Modern Family still portray the dad as an absolute buffoon who doesn't know anything and can't control the kids.
Yeah, there's actually research on this phenomenon. Like, so it's not just anecdotal, like we all experience this. It's actually true that moms are default parents. But I want to look at this from a spiritual perspective as well as look at the data here in just a minute.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Prayer works. Are you trying to please the Lord in the things you do? Crawford Loritz illustrates a prayer you can pray to help put your full confidence in the grace of God.
Lord, so many of us have struggled with working harder and trying to get you to smile at us or think that our hard work is going to somehow or another earn points with you. May we just rest in your love and mercy. May we fall into the tender arms of grace, the grace of our great God, the acceptance and love that you give to us, and that the smile that you have, Father, is not contingent upon what we do. So, Lord Jesus, we pray in the name of your Son that we will receive your grace, your mercy, your loving kindness, and bask in it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Prayer works. For resources, visit moodyradio.org/prayer. moodyradio.org/prayer.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
7:23 on Moody Radio.
You did not need to go into it like that.
I had to just lean into it.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No
I
one
felt
noticed.
compelled.
Just take a sip of water and just keep going.
Did you enjoy it,
No,
Ron?
no one enjoyed that.
You'll probably hear it again.
No one needs to.
I just had this thing, like sometimes in media, people like have little hiccups like that and they don't point them out. They just keep rolling like nothing happened. And I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, when they're real subtle, you keep rolling. If it's something like prostate versus prostrate, then you got to point it out.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. When you're a professional, you just lean over these mistakes. Just
The people
plow on
won't
over.
let you, Ron.
That's true.
You will never live that down.
When you're on the radio, you don't make mistakes.
Well, do you ever make mistakes when you talk?
I just did.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
What I'm talking about?
Everybody gets that way.
Know what I'm talking about, Willis?
I think they were
What you
quoting
talking
a
about, Willis?
song. I was thinking, Mama said there'd be days like this. There'd be days like
Okay.
this, my mama said. But you were quoting a song.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not going to tell you what it is.
By NSYNC.
Nope.
No.
It was on Saved by the Bell.
Nope.
No.
Miley Cyrus did it as Hannah
Yes.
Montana.
Yep, there you go.
I did 3 guesses.
I was ready to jump in with Victorious.
Oh,
No.
We're too old for that, Ron.
Okay. Yeah, Lexi
Please.
watches it.
Please get it right.
Yeah, Ron's going to keep us up to speed on
He
what the
is.
kids are doing these days with his grandkids.
Yes, ballerina cappuccino.
What?
I found that out.
Is that a show or a
Say
person?
that
It's,
again?
it's like a meme, I guess. It's popular with the youngins. There's Chicken Jockey, of course, from the Minecraft movie.
I am so out of touch.
And then ballerina cappuccino.
Yeah. God bless you, Ron.
Cappuccino, I guess it would be.
Okay, so to wrap things up here, I want to circle back to the default parent problem, and we have to decide if it is a problem, right? So research has proven, and people say that mom is the default parent in American culture.
Yeah.
In fact, economists at Syracuse University actually conducted a study where her and her colleagues who did this posed a fictitious parents, like a pair of parents, and they emailed more than 80,000 school principals saying they were searching for a school for their child and asking for a call back. The researchers found that the principals were 40%, more likely to call the pretend moms back than the pretend dads.
Wow.
Even in cases where the email came from the father and the father said he was more available than his wife, the principals called the mother 12% of the time.
Oh, my goodness.
Like, dad's like, hey, it's me, the dad. I swear I'm the person you should call. They didn't. So is this a problem for Christian families? Like, as in, is it bad that there's a default parent?
I don't think it's bad that there's a default parent. I think it's bad when we say that there's a default parent after you've been told which default, like if it's the mom or the dad.
Right.
'Cause there can be a default parent that's the dad.
Yeah.
For your family, it could be, like for the afternoons for you, you're the default parent because you're available. And if people start saying, well, no, it's Sarah. Well, no, it's not because you've been told. So I think that's the problem is when you just override it after you've been told. I think there's always a default parent in a family. And it changes in seasons. Just whoever's available, who has more capacity, whatever.
But there are, I think, Christian marriage relationships today where it's not even just mom, it's wife is the default person.
Yeah.
Like husband is totally unaware of what's happening in his own life because his wife's got all that handled. Is that a problem?
Not if you have an agreement that that's how it's supposed to be and you're both leaning into what you're good at and that the husband is contributing to the family. He's not just like being dragged along, doesn't know what's happening.
Yeah, Sarah was not having it that she was going to be the calendar for our family, especially when we both were working. She's like, excuse me. I mean, it's when you have a two-parent working household, there's no reason there should be a default parent.
Yeah, but
like Sarah and I divide things up. There's certain things that are my territory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if one parent's staying home, though, I don't think it's unfair that, you know, say mom who stays home, I don't think it's unfair that she's responsible for all that.
No.
Right.
Because that's her whole day, and dad, you know, it's not that he's absent. He's just not physically there during the day.
Her caring for the home and calendar is her job.
Yeah. No, I think it becomes a problem when we start to minimize dad's contributions to the family and his ability to take care of his own kids,
Right.
which, these the people in this study are subconsciously doing.
Yeah, and I remember going to, I went grocery shopping, and when you get a few things, you can walk over to customer service when you're at Mark's, and it's like a super long line, and all the checkout people are going to take their entire lives to check out one person. So I went over to customer service, and I happened to be getting a can or two of Manwich. It's going to make some sloppy joes.
Great weeknight
because who
meal.
makes it from scratch?
I do.
What?
Yep. Like twice
Daria
every
probably
week.
does too.
I can't remember last time I even made sloppy joe.
I do sloppy joe bowls and I make it from scratch.
Why do you make it? Because the ingredients. You can't for your allergy kids.
I doubt that there would be eggs and dairy in it, but
I'm a little
It's
thrown
just
off
like
here.
ketchup, brown sugar, and then
And tomato
chop up
paste.
some onions and stuff
tomato
like that,
paste,
right?
ketchup, brown sugar, some seasonings.
But the
Peppers
lady
and
at,
onions if you want.
Yeah.
all I'd say, the lady at customer service was like, "Oh, cute, Dad's cooking tonight." I want to be like, "Excuse me, lady, get out of my face." I can't have a night after cooking like from scratch other stuff where I make some. She's just gonna insult dads.
I mean, no one insults mom for pasta night.
No.
Pasta night's arguably easier than sloppy joe night.
And then she went on some huge monologue about how when dad's cooking, it's horrible.
Wait, she did this to you?
Yeah, but she
in
thought
front
it was
of your
cute.
face?
She thought it was cute. Like, when my husband, he made garbage for the kids when I was gone.
Did you say, actually, I make all of the meals for my family? Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, I just chuckled and left. I wasn't going to argue with
How
a perfect
rude.
stranger.
Well, you could just say, that's a weird thing to say out loud.
Are you okay?
You're much more bold than I am in those kind of things. I don't know if I could do that. But I will tell you that when Sarah was a full-time stay-at-home mom, I leaned into the idea of a default parent too much. Like, I had this expectation that not only did she run the family calendar, but I could be completely ignorant of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we doing this weekend? I don't know. Hey, Sarah, what are we doing this weekend? She's like, you don't know? Were you not paying attention? No.
Nope, I wasn't.
I hit cruise control, and you're just doing everything. That's not cool. I don't think Christian marriage is supposed to be set up that way. And where you two are being very generous, I think, in your analysis of this, where I can tell men, like, I don't think it's appropriate for you, if you really read Ephesians 5, and if you really believe in spiritual headship, what are you doing ignoring your family calendar and not being an active participant in what's happening in your family life? Goodness gracious, I don't think there's any scripture verse that would be that. Is there, Lauren?
No.
Lean back and don't pay attention?
No.
I had to learn the hard way through conflict. That's not okay.
Isn't it one of the verses of Proverbs 31? Yea, and she shall run the family calendar all the days of her life.
There must be a verily in there as well, right?
Right.
Yeah. Do you agree with me? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I think there needs to be division of labor. Like, okay, if you do doctor's appointments, you do all things doctor appointments. But then maybe that means your husband cares for all school things and you do all school things. Like, you manage the school part of the calendar and what they need to bring to school, or you're the emergency contact for school. I think you have to divide things up like that.
Yeah, I think you should.
So maybe your doctor calls your husband, but the school calls you,
7:31. We're going to shift gears here in just a minute after we take a break. Our friend, attorney Nathan Zion Esquire, attorney at law from Mulhall Zion LLC, will be here to talk about what business owners should know about using AI.
Hi, I'm Trillia Newbell, host of Living by Faith. The Bible can feel overwhelming for kids. That's why I wrote 52 Weeks in the Word Student Edition, a simple, engaging journey through the New Testament. With daily readings, reflection questions, and space for prayers, it helps kids grow in their love for Jesus. It's a wonderful gift to share with the tween or teen in your life. 52 Weeks in the Word Student Edition, now at moodybooks.org.
Every day, thousands of children and families face hunger, poverty, and hardship. For 75 years, World Vision has been following Jesus and serving the poor, believing in a world where children are free from poverty and equipped to reach their God-given potential. and you can be part of this work, helping children and families gain access to essentials like clean water, education, healthcare, and nutritious food. Discover how you can show Jesus' love to children in need by visiting worldvision.org/radio.
Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found it. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
opinions expressed during this program represent the opinions of the participants and is given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace professional advice for your specific situation. You're now entering the Mornings with Brian courtroom. The cases are real. The attorney is real. But the team is completely clueless. It's time for Sidebar with attorney Nathan Zion, Esquire.
Order.
That really gets me every time.
I'm Judge Brian. With us, Attorney Zion for the prosecution or defense?
Am I the bailiff?
Yeah.
All right.
You're Bert.
Yeah.
From Judge Judy.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Excuse me, Attorney Zion, before we begin today's proceedings. Bert, I see you have something for us.
Yes, I do. We had a first-time texter.
Hey!
Woo! So I'm going to text you back. We'll send you some Mornings Brian swag.
We love first-time texters. They're the best. All right, proceed, Attorney Zion. Did I just nail it like I'm a judge?
That was pretty good. And, the bailiff usually has, the most power.
Yeah, obviously. I'm going to kick all of you out of here.
Oh, yeah. It's always fun because the judge usually comes in for a little bit, right? The crucial part, of course. But then all the while, the bailiff is there making sure everyone's in their right spot.
Keep
all
them in
that.
line.
So
Yeah, I got
that sounds
yelled
about
at.
right for this scenario.
I got yelled at by a...
Yeah.
Remember? I guess was he the bailiff? Or?
I don't know. I wasn't there, so.
He was a Portage County Sheriff's deputy.
Mm.
And I kind of got out of the jury box over a low railing. And he made it sound
Nathan's
like...
so disappointed in you.
What, you can't do
Shaking
that?
his head at you.
Oh, he's so disappointed.
And
he was like, you better not do that again. I was like, what?
Did you break something or what?
No. He
Just
said,
across
the
the line,
judge is
huh?
in there. There's camera. She's watching you.
Okay.
like,
Am I on
goodness
trial?
sakes.
I'm here to help.
Judge is monitoring you via camera.
I'm here to help. Be nice to me.
And I had elderly women, like 3 of them next to me. I didn't want to make stand up.
Wow. I'll tell you what, we ended up, I was in a trial, and I think I told this story before, but we had someone who was inebriated in the jury, and we had to get them removed because they were totally interrupting the entire jury. And at that point then, there's some you need to be removed. Maybe not for moving in your seat or stepping over, leaning over the railing or something.
Is there law school procedure for that? You're like, Your Honor, sidebar?
Yeah, it was. You
had to do a sidebar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh.
And it was both of us, opposing counsel and everything. Yeah, that we flagged it. And
you're like, that guy's drunk?
It was, a woman. And she had been, it was 2 days in a row where we kind of know something. And at first we thought it might have been medication because some medications can make you feel similar effects. And then we had to confront her and all that stuff. Yeah.
Whenever you tell stories like that, I can't believe I know this guy. He's like, yeah, I've got to go to court today. I'm going to trial.
Sounds like
what?
Kronk from Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, he did sound like that. Very good. But that's not why you're here today. Today you want to talk about things to keep in mind for business owners related to AI.
Yeah.
You own a business.
Have you used AI?
A little bit. My wife
so
is all
nervous.
about it.
He just started about a month ago, and he's like, hey, I have this great idea. Why don't I make ChatGPT do it? And I was like, yeah.
We've all been
We've been doing that
Hello.
since November 2022.
I've been
like, hello.
I'm a slow adopter. I'm also the guy that when Apple did their big announcement about the iPad, I was like, well, that's a terrible idea. I thought that was a terrible idea.
The iPad?
It actually was, depending on how you look at it.
Oh, thank you. But no,
We'll get
Sarah
on the train.
is
Get on the
all
train.
about AI.
Yes,
Lauren is all
100%.
about AI.
Yeah.
I don't know that Lauren does anything anymore. She just does AI.
Yeah, I don't do anything. Can't believe you even have a job here.
AI is doing it for
You
her.
want a robot to sit here.
It's coming over.
Stop. So for those who don't understand the ins and outs of AI, what do you think about when you think AI?
Well, first of all, I should say I'm not a software engineer or developer or anything like that.
You're an attorney.
I can't go into all the specifics, but AI is generally just a new tool that we've been able to leverage for so many things. And it's been super beneficial for business owners, individuals. I mean, heck, my wife does some meal prep, right, for vacations.
Yes.
She just did ChatGPT.
Yes.
I
Gives
just
me
did that for
recipes
one.
Yeah.
Or you can say, I have all this in my pantry. What can I make with this?
Yes, it's great.
It's amazing.
So, I mean, those are kind of more innocuous things. But then you get people who say, draft me a legal document for an NDA or an employment agreement, and they use those then as
Is that
forms.
good?
Generally not. No, I discourage that.
Well, because the way it works, it's really doing an internet search for you and sifting through sources so you don't have to read through them, right?
Yeah, well, so there's different. I mean, AI is just artificial intelligence, but there's generative AI, which means it's tools that can create then from what prompts you provide it information, a document or a thing, right? A list. They use the info and manipulate it. And so the common one is ChatGPT. There's Grok. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Gemini is a big one. But even like Canva, right? You can put in some stuff in Canva and you get a nice presentation or picture or image, whatnot.
What do you think I've been doing this whole time when I use Canva?
I just thought you were really creative.
No.
Yeah.
That is last on the list of what I am. creative in that way. Not for me.
I didn't know
good.
Canva had this. I'm a little startled. Canva? Like, so for those who don't know, it's like where you can make graphics and stuff.
Almost every software that does anything has some sort of AI feature anymore.
Hey, I'm still looking for the CDs at Best Buy, so give me a minute to catch up, okay?
You don't go to the Walmart bins anymore? The big,
those are
the
great.
DVD
I like
and
those
everything?
bins.
Yeah, they're great.
Do they still have those? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't
But I
ask
like 'em.
me. I'm too
Anyway,
busy
and then there's
grocery shopping.
Microsoft Copilot, which is one that we've
Yes.
used, which I don't know if you guys have used that, but there's so many options, and every day seems like there's a new one. But there's a host of issues that come along with that. I mean, you are using kind of the internet to make things. It's like the Wikipedia sometimes of AI.
Sure.
And so I know from a legal perspective, if you ask it something, it wants to produce something for you. It wants to basically do what you ask. And sometimes that includes over-exaggeration, maybe even falsifying or creating something. There's a bunch of cases where lawyers basically submitted AI-generated briefs, and they came up with case law out of whole cloth.
Wait, stop for a minute.
Made up
Oh my
law.
gosh.
That's happening?
Yeah, it has.
So you have to fact check it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can't
for
just
sure.
like submit something and not look into it.
So you're telling me that an attorney just was like, make me a legal brief for this, and then it came up and made up case law, and they turned it in to a judge? Turned it in. That's not what it's called. It's not an assignment.
Did they have a deadline? Yeah.
It was in the syllabus, so they turned it in.
by 3:30.
What do you call it when you submit your brief?
Yeah, file it, submit. Sure.
File
it.
it.
File it.
They turned it in.
They turned it in. And they
I
got an
can't-
A. They got an A for effort. But no, they flunked because I don't know how it all worked, but in their research they used AI, and then they copied that research results, which were fake. So some of the cases were just made up, and they copied that into their brief. And so when they're arguing to the judge, they're basing it on what they thought was actual law, and it turned out nope, there's no case that exists under that name. And the holdings were wrong. And so they got dinged, of course, because you're not supposed to lie to a court and make up law and argue about things that don't exist, right? It's frowned upon.
I mean, we're all going, oh, I feel bad for that guy. But no. I mean, you go to a court and you're making up court cases in your defense. It's called lying. It's not okay.
You're not allowed to do that at court.
But the problem, I mean, you get into kind of the mental state, right? The lawyer didn't necessarily know that they were lying. They thought and they trusted this AI tool that it would produce something reliable, and it just didn't. And so that's where you get into dicey situations where you're just trusting blindly the AI, and that creates legal issues when you start using it and relying on it without double checking, without confirming. Now, there are legal AI tools out there. We use one, I think it's called Sentient, which is like sentient almost, and it actually uses a universe of actual court cases, so
it searches like a legal library.
It searches a database of actual court cases. It doesn't go out into the World Wide Web and just pull out from Reddit threads and all that. It actually pulls from a good database, and so that'll come up more and more and more, and it'll be more reliable. But the Groks, the ChatGPTs, those are just searching the internet, so you got to be careful.
Well, at 7:46 with us on Mornings with Brian is our friend, attorney Nathan Zion Esquire, attorney at law and co-founder of Mulhall Zion LLC, a boutique law firm here in Northeast Ohio. When we come back, we'll start thinking through some small business owner and even just employment issues when it comes to legalities and AI.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Downloading.
Moody Radio, from the Word to Life.
Here's hope, encouragement, and truth. Anytime, anywhere. Download the Moody Radio app today. Stream your favorite local Moody radio station live. Dive into our other Christian streaming music stations. And catch up with your favorite on-demand programs whenever it fits your schedule. Faith-filled content wherever life takes you.
The Moody Radio app.
Anytime, anywhere. Download it now on iOS or Android.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
It's Mornings with Brian live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. In studio with us, he's from the law firm Mulhall Zion LLC, a boutique law firm here in Northeast Ohio, attorney Nathan Zion. We're chatting about legal issues tied to AI and using it in the workplace. What about issues with intellectual property? I think a lot of people have wondered about this because if ChatGPT, for example, is searching the internet, couldn't it give you somebody else's copyrighted material?
It could. Now, the algorithms, again, I'm not a developer, but they try to ferret that out. So if you go to like an image generator, which is AI, generally they're going to create something new, right, that hasn't been copyrighted or anything. But you don't know that. And so when you go to a Canva, when you go to Gemini and you say, get me, stock photos of X, Y, and Z, and you might add some detail about what you want on a desk, like with, I'm thinking drinks, and it pulls up a Coke can, and all of a sudden there's a Coke can now in your image that it generated. You might be crossing into now copyright, right? The Coke has a trademark on it. It has copyright on certain IP. So anyway, you're not guaranteed to be infringement free, so to speak. So you just open yourself up to liability. Now, if you're just doing some general stuff, you shouldn't worry too much, but you've just got to be sensitive to those things where you might be stealing someone's trademark, using it. And then if you're marketing your own services or goods with that, then technically you're profiting off of someone else's intellectual property.
And you could be sued.
And that could be illegal depending on it. Now, there are fair use excuses, defenses. There are a whole bunch of things at play. But the general standard is you can't take someone else's mark and pass it off as your own. You might be doing that.
Well, then could there be even questions if someone uses AI to create, let's just say, an advertisement or even a logo? Can they trademark something generated by AI as their own?
Yeah, so you can use it, trademark. So there's different kinds of IP. The big one that is usually comes with AI is copyrights. So copyrights are rights that you get in any sort of medium where an idea is housed. So you write something down on a piece of paper, you get a copyright in that. You come up with a movie script, you write that down, you get a copyright. You draw a painting or you do anything like that, you get a copyright. AI-generated materials, though, don't have a human element to them, generally speaking. You just type in a prompt and the computer or the software, right, develops it. That, the U.S. Copyright Office has said, is insufficient to get a copyright. So if you get anything from AI, it's generally not copyrightable. And so then you don't have the protections that you would normally have when you market your business. So it's dangerous when you use that because you think, this will be my IP and I'll keep this forever. Well, no, the AI could share that with other people and they have every right to use it. There are some nuances to that, but generally speaking, anything created by an AI, you should question it as whether it's legitimate and you can copyright it. Trademarks, yeah, you can register for trademarks. And that's why I encourage small business owners, if you're using AI-generated anything, consider trademarks, copyrights, even trade secret protection. There's a host of things that you should consider and say, what do I need to do to protect this and benefit my company?
And see, a small business owner might say, that just sounds like a bunch of legal headaches and expenses I don't want.
Exactly. And I'll say it generally is some work. There's administrative overhead and there's a cost that comes with that. There are DIY resources out there. I mean, we all know about the LegalZooms and everything, so you can go through one of those to maybe register a copyright. But meeting with an attorney, speaking with them usually costs some money, but the hope is that it's like an insurance policy. You pay a premium to get the protection, and then for the lifetime of the IP, you have that protection. If anything happens, you can fall back on that, and you can enforce your IP rights.
Do you have a little timer on your desk that you slap when somebody calls you?
Every time. Bing, bing, bing. No. Of course not.
Like, does it count? Like, when you say hello, is that on the timer?
No, generally not.
I always wonder. Okay. Consumer protection issues. Talk about those with AI.
Well, the big thing to think about, there's a lot of nuance to all of this, but the big thing is, are you misleading consumers? We're a capitalist society, and we want to protect consumers, though, from people, from Ponzi schemes, from all these business opportunity things that sound too good to be true and are. And so what happens oftentimes is when AI generates marketing materials or even website design, they might go above and beyond and say, world's greatest lawyer, right? World's best fill in the blank. Cup of coffee for an Elf reference there.
Way to go, guys.
You did it. And so that might cross into an unlawful territory where you're just saying world's best lawyer. We have ethical rules against doing those sorts of things, and you might be crossing a line. In fact, the FTC has pursued a couple different companies who have said similar things, like do not pay. I wrote down one of theirs. They said that they're the world's first robot lawyer, and they'll generate perfectly valid legal documents without hiring an attorney. And the FTC went after them, and they had to settle because that's misleading. And
it's a pretty big
can't do
claim.
That. And so many people won't even do that, right? But you got to look at all your marketing materials, your emails that go out. Are you promising something that's truthful, that's not misleading? And then do you follow that up? If you promise a warranty, but in your terms and conditions you don't offer a warranty for, X good, then that's a conflict. There's an issue. So you need to be very diligent about proofreading through things and making sure you're not misleading consumers.
I guess that makes me relieved in some sense, right? Because people fear that AI will take everyone's jobs. But at this point, like, you have to have the human element, you're saying from a legal perspective, to double check the work.
Well, yes and no. So the upside and downside to AI is as time passes and they have more, and AI has more data to evaluate and to use in its production, the better it should get theoretically, right? That's the whole goal, is that more good information gets filtered so that when it creates things in the future, it's a better product. I mean, heck, AI's been around. I mean, we just mentioned November 2022 is when ChatGPT kind of hit the market. And it's been a few years now, and we have so much better AI that's working, and it's only going to get better. And you can just listen to Elon. He predicts, robots are going to be doing crazy things in 5 to 10 years, which is maybe true. I don't know.
There's so many movies with this plot that we're just living out right now. Ron is just waiting for Skynet to launch.
Yeah, where can I insert a reference to Skynet? Right.
Right, or iRobot has so many scary references. That old Will Smith movie.
Mm-hmm. Forgot about that.
Ron, what do you always talk about? The 3 laws of what?
Yeah, Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics. Harm no human, and the robot doesn't create the rules for robots. And
no robot rules.
Yeah, and I forget what the third, something about protecting humanity.
Yeah, but there's always a loophole in every law, right?
Yes.
Right, Nate? See?
That robots can't rule robots?
It's something about hurting people, too. I don't know. Protect people by... It's the classic, even... we'll stop. But I was just watching Age of Ultron, the Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And the robots were designed to protect people.
Right.
But the best way to protect people is to get rid of them.
To get rid of the
because
robots.
Get rid of the people because they're so destructive.
Yeah. What a conundrum.
They're a danger to themselves.
Well...
See?
I'm not even going to get into it.
Employment issues with AI. What employment issues could there be?
Do you want to talk more about robots?
No, I'm good with that. So employment issues, the big one that I've heard from my clients is they use AI to monitor some employees, right? What they're doing, tracking. Yeah, how much they're. The big thing that came up during COVID, and the government played a role in this, was people would walk away from their computer, right? And they wouldn't actually be at their computer doing work, but there are people monitoring their activity. And so they came up with software that would jiggle your mouse and would keep your screen active so that it triggered this and fooled the software to make it look like you were still there. People are doing that. Companies are monitoring employees, making sure they're on time, right? They're checking in, they're doing work, all that kind of stuff. And so that's legitimate to do as an employer, but you have to do it properly. In other words, you have to be transparent usually with the employee, saying, we will be monitoring things, right? Your email is our email. We will be monitoring this.
I didn't know that they did this.
I know some people tie into their personal accounts like your Facebook or your LinkedIn, and they monitor things because they're worried about you maybe competing with them or something to that effect. And so all of those things are kind of a balancing test between what are the employer's rights versus what are the employee's rights. And AI is becoming a huge tool to do all of that. And you just have to be careful because you can run afoul of privacy laws, you can run afoul of all these various HR issues. And then also, even in hiring, I in reading for this, I laughed. In 2018, there was an Amazon AI tool that they used to bring in new employees to recruit, basically. And it apparently didn't like women. And the reason is,
rude.
Yeah, they found that it was discriminatory towards women, mainly because there were so many males who worked at Amazon.
Oh.
And that it just filtered out, and it found, well, there are more males, and so we want to discourage anyone with women's in their resume. If it said, like, women's this, women's that, they dinged it, basically, and said, oh, this isn't who we're looking for. We obviously want what we have, which are more men. And so they shut that down.
But they're liable for that error, right?
Well, yeah, because you're technically, you're basically making a hiring decision off of sex, which is discriminatory. And so those sorts of things, they didn't even know were happening until they started studying the results. So your small business owner might use, I don't know, a ChatGPT. They might filter in resumes and put all this stuff through. They got to know, how is it processing and sifting through all that? Because they're not doing it. The AI is doing that. Is there a bias in there that maybe they're going to be culpable for? I don't know, but you need to be cognizant of those things.
Well, and if I'm applying for jobs, I'd be worried that if someone's putting my information, all my information, into an AI service or whatever, isn't my personal information now at risk?
Could be, yeah.
Your phone number, your email that you put on your resume.
Yeah, and that's where you get into what's public domain, what's not, what are the terms and conditions. When you sign up for those, there's usually a 22-page document that says, by using our service and signing in, you're agreeing that your photo will be dispensed across the universe. And so you might consent to all of that. I don't know, but it just depends. I know the big thing with Microsoft Copilot is they usually use your internal documents as the universe. They don't share info outside. So things like law firms, where we have to be very safe with confidential and privileged information, we could use something not like a ChatGPT, which is open source. We can use something more like a Microsoft Copilot, which is closed source.
So it's just looking at your documents.
Our documents is staying internal.
So it says, Nathan usually does this with his stuff, so we'll add it onto this document.
Yeah, so if you're a client of mine, I can't just take your email and upload it to ChatGPT and say, give me a summary of this, because I'm technically disclosing that you're a client, and whatever information is in there, I'm just opening up that to the world, and that's problematic. So you got to be sensitive about those things.
I'm still, I have to say, a little freaked out that employers are using AI as like a big brother kind of spying tool on their employees. Because it sounds to me like even you're saying the law at the moment is leaning towards the employer. Like it's perfectly fine for someone to spy on you all day long.
Yeah, you're saying it in a very
Brian way.
Yeah,
I'm
biased way.
On you.
I'm
going to start spying on your computer. See what you're doing.
I'm scared that you're spying on me. I'm not doing anything wrong, but it's like.
Well, think about this. The employer is paying you to do a certain job, and they want to monitor that you're doing that job. And the way they used to do that is, are you in the factory floor, standing there, shoveling something, moving something, right? That was centuries ago. Now we've advanced to where we're working from home, we're working in remote places, we're at office, but with doors closed. How do you convince the employer that you're actually working? And this is a legitimate thing. Well, and so this AI can measure those results. Maybe it's something as simple as every email that you send to a certain customer, it sets off a trigger, a new task of things to do. That's tracking you in some way, shape, or form, right? Wow. You have to send an email, and then it triggers a whole bunch of events. So yes, AI is all around, and I'm not sure that Moody's doing that for you, but you need to know that any employer could potentially do that.
Well, I'm not using my computer right now, so they probably think I'm just sitting around.
Oh, well.
Actually, no, I'm on the radio. Yeah.
Watch the film, right?
But hey, we're almost out of time. But I will say, if this has piqued somebody's interest and concern of their business owner, employer, you got to talk to an attorney. This is a time when you can't take unnecessary risks with litigation. And I'm guessing that you recommend that, right? If they have questions, reach out to an attorney.
Yeah, and there are attorneys that specialize in this. We touched the surface, but there are people who specialize in this because it's such a niche thing. So we can direct you to the right attorney if you have a need.
And again, Nathan Zion is founder of Mulhall Zion LLC. It's a boutique law firm here in Northeast Ohio. If you want to reach out to him, you can, a couple of ways to do it. You can Google it, ask ChatGPT maybe. What's Nathan's home address? Just kidding. Don't ask that. It probably knows, though. You can also just reach out to us. We'd be glad to connect you with his offices. So is that offices? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
If you work from home, have the office and everything.
Home office, regular office.
Nathan, we appreciate you, and we are grateful for your legal expertise.
Likewise. Love being on with you guys.
Can we call you our attorney since you're on the show with us?
I think that's misleading, Brian, so no.
Oh, bummer.
Wow, that's pretty rude.
I want to be able to toss it around. I don't know. Let me ask my attorney.
Let me do this.
Just give him a retainer.
I see in the movies if I hand you $1, I can call you my attorney. Is that true?
You have to ask legal advice then as well. You have to be pursuing legal advice.
Yeah,
this is it.
Will you be my attorney? Please.
That's not legal advice. Legal advice.
Can I call you my attorney when legal questions come up? Here's $1. No.
Sure. You're my attorney, or I'm your attorney. Let's go.
Yes. Well, we're done talking to my attorney, Nathan Zion, Esquire. It's 8:03. We got to get to the news and today's very important moron moment. Especially if you're new to us and want a refresher on something we do on the show, you got to listen into this. Nathan Zion, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
We'll talk to Dr. Chris Rappazzini about leadership here in just a minute.
Loving God with our hearts and our minds. It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios on Moody Radio Cleveland. WCRF Cleveland. WVMS Sandusky. WVML Millersburg. WVMN Newcastle. WVME Meadville. WVMU Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The president of CBS News is stepping down from the role as the network deals with a $20 billion lawsuit filed by President Trump. It's 8:04. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Trump sued CBS News, saying 60 Minutes edited a pre-election interview with former Vice President Harris. Wendy McMahon's decision to resign marks the second high-profile departure from the organization within the last month. Authorities are continuing to investigate a tragic accident in Fremont that killed 3 members of an Indiana family. Investigators say a 50-year-old woman and her 34-year-old daughter were walking across the Miles Newton Bridge Sunday night with 2 girls aged 5 years and 14 months when they were hit by a train. And the Hershey's Kiss is close to becoming the official state candy of Pennsylvania. If approved by the state Senate and signed by Governor Josh Shapiro, the Hershey's Kiss would immediately be designated the state candy as long as the Hershey Company stays in the Commonwealth. In sports, the Guardians and Twins couldn't finish last night, so that game was suspended in the bottom of the 4th due to rain. The Pirates, however, got crushed by the Reds 7-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny this morning, then mostly cloudy with a chance of showers this afternoon. High temperatures in the mid-60s. At last check, mostly cloudy, 46 in Cleveland, 43 Akron and Canton. Lorraine Elyria checking in at 46 as well.
It's time for your moron moment.
With new listeners joining us all the time, we felt it was a good idea to explain this part of my news. Listeners have sometimes called into the show and said, "We need more Ron." At least once, Brian erupted into a cheer of "More Ron, more Ron." On one of those occasions, I suggested he say those words together a little faster to get to the real me. Of course, this was just a lighthearted joke, and everyone got a good laugh. When we decided that I would add a little something extra to the newscast, we felt that a perfect name would be the More Ron Moment, and that's how this all came to be. As Paul Harvey used to say, and now you know the rest of the story. And that's your More Ron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:06. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
810 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. And in a matter of moments here, we're going to talk to a good friend of ours. But don't forget, you can watch the show. I haven't brought this up in a while. If you're new to us, we live stream every day on YouTube and Facebook. Not on MySpace. We're not there right now.
Oh, yeah. No.
Daria's still working on that.
Would I be on your top 8?
I don't even know what that means.
Don't talk about MySpace if you're not going to know what a top 8 is.
What song did you have playing on your MySpace?
Oh, I changed it too often to know.
Okay, I would never be able to pick one.
You know who would be on my top 8?
What?
Dr. Rappazzini.
Me too. By the way, text live to 440-546-2255. The word live will send you a link to the live stream. Dr. Chris Rappazzini is Associate Professor of Leadership at Anderson University, and he would definitely be one of Lauren's top friends on MySpace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcome back, Dr. Rappazzini.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. And that last segment, I was actually watching live on your YouTube channel. I loved it.
Look at you. You're hip and happening. You're watching on the YouTube. You're listening to our show. I love it. And are you nervous about AI as a professor? You worried your students don't do anything anymore?
Oh, they already are. We know they are. But so we're trying to get our ducks in a row to make sure we can do everything to help them. But we actually want them to learn how to use AI in an ethical, moral way so that they can go into the workplace and do it the right way. And employers are wanting our graduates to know how to use AI.
Yeah, I like that approach. I mean, why not? Why get so mad and ban something when you can actually learn how to use it effectively?
Yeah, it's not going away. It's like the internet, like trying to tell people, don't use the internet these days. It's like, well, it's impossible. You use it everywhere. And yeah, AI is ubiquitous. It's not going anywhere. So I'm doing my best as far as both in leadership practices as well as in education to utilize it so it's augmenting, human work, if you will.
But today what we're going to focus on in most of our time with you is not AI. It's, as you put it, leaving the place better than you found it. And it makes me think of, I had a former boss who, while I was working for this employer, they left the organization. And I was so impressed with how they finished well. And what I noticed was very few people finish well or leave a place better than they found it. I mean, how do you kind of approach that in general? Is that what you're talking about, finishing well, or are you talking about just improving a place?
Exactly. Well, so this phrase is actually something I grew up with because my mom would tell us this all the time. Hey, leave the place better than you found it, whether it's the room that you're leaving or, your school that you're graduating from or the workplace that you're going to. And so, yeah, I'm curious actually what you think, because there's 3 different tiers, if you will, on how to leave a place better than you found it. One, like you mentioned, is kind of the succession planning. Hey, I'm retiring. I've worked in this organization for a long time. The second tier, if you will, go down a little bit, is, hey, I'm resigning. I'm moving to another job. Or maybe, you've been let go. You've been fired. How do I leave the place even though, there's been disagreements? And then also hey, I'm in my job. How do I leave, this week or this day or even this place, the workroom or whatever, something better than I found it. So there's these 3 different tiers when it comes to leaving the place better than you found it.
And I think it's, I would say most people have that goal if retirement is the tier. But to be more specific, my boss was let go. And I watched him finish well. And I was so impressed. Because I think so many people get so inwardly focused and they feel obviously hurt that they kind of, they've set the place on fire, figuratively speaking, on their way out. And it can ruin your legacy and any work you've done while you're there. But I think it's hard in the moment to control the emotion of it.
Oh, definitely. And really, this is where I think your true character comes out, is when you have been let go or forced to resign, really against your will, right? Not on your own timetable. Is how are you going to react in those situations? And it's a sad day. It's a sad moment when that happens. Too often, though, it happens to too many of us. And I think that's where actually being a Christian, we have a code book for that, right? I mean, you think of actually Jesus, right? Who, was falsely accused, forced if you will, to leave the world. Now, of course, he laid down his life for us and nobody took it from him. But you have his example of just leaving in a humble way. And really, if you think about it, he left the place a lot better than he found it.
Now, tell me I'm crazy with this. I've actually, because of this boss's example, I've occasionally let myself kind of practice what it would be like to get let go. Is that crazy?
Okay, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by practice?
Well, I prepare myself. What would I do if I were suddenly let go? Am I prepared in that moment because I've rehearsed it? So that I don't like go crazy or start screaming at people. You know what I mean? You don't want. And because I've done this as a parent too, where I'm like, let's just say this worst case scenario happens with my kid. What will I say? So that I don't scar them for the rest of their lives. Do you suggest rehearsing getting laid off? Or is that too morbid?
I don't think it's not, I don't think it's too morbid. I think it's actually wise. That's wisdom. In one of the servant leadership behaviors, there's foresight, and that's what foresight is, right? It's looking around the corner. Now, we don't want to stress out about it. We don't want it to dwell on that or be immobilized because of, what that would look like. But I think running through the different scenarios of how you would react to situations is actually a wise and good thing that we ought to do so that we can, when we're in the moment, choose what is right and what is good in that particular situation and circumstance. So, no, I don't think that's morbid at all.
I was nervous that you were going to chastise me on the radio. We'll see. It's 8:16. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, our friend Dr. Chris Rappazzini. He's Associate Professor of Leadership at Anderson University, Moody Publishers author, former Moody Bible Institute professor. We're going to chat with him about other ways to approach the idea of leaving a place better than you found it.
Each year, on one day, believers around the world raise the flag for those who have no access to the gospel. A third of humanity, a third of us, are cut off from the good news of Jesus Christ. The International Day for the Unreached is coming soon, and Moody Radio wants you to know about the plight of the unreached. Join us for the Moody Radio special, Until All Here. Our hosts, Ruth Kramer and John Fugler, will talk with authors Marv Newell and Greg Kelly and other guests who are taking the gospel to those who have never heard. You'll hear powerful stories, and we'll also take your calls. God is on the move. These are urgent times. Your heart will burn for the unreached when you join us for the Moody Radio special, Until All Here, presented by the Alliance for the Unreached, in preparation for the International Day for the Unreached.
Tune in Saturday, May 31st from 6 to 8 p.m.
Poverty is one of the most urgent challenges of our time. Over 700 million people around the world live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2.15 per day. World Vision is tackling the root causes of poverty by partnering with communities to implement sustainable solutions like access to clean water, healthcare, and nutritious food, so every child can grow into who God meant them to be. You can be part of showing Jesus love and bringing hope for the future. Visit worldvision.org/radio to get started.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
822 WCRF. If you're just tuning in, our guest here on Mornings with Brian is Dr. Chris Rappazzini, Associate Professor of Leadership at Anderson University. We're talking about the concept that his mother told him of leaving the place better than you found it. Sounds like your mom was tired of you leaving your stuff everywhere, huh, Dr. Rappazzini?
Oh, yeah, especially in the kitchen. I feel like that's where everybody leaves the most mess, right? It's just in the kitchen, whether it's with your dirty dishes or whatever's on the counter. But this is shared space. And when it comes to leadership too, right, we share spaces. And so we have to live with other people. So yeah, how can you leave it better than you found it?
For my kids, it's just whatever room they're in is a disaster. It's like, it's not mine. I don't know if I had a quarter for every time someone told me it's not mine, I'd be a rich man. But leaving the place better than you found it. Okay, so how do we think through that as an individual employee every day? It doesn't have to be just if you're laid off or if you retire. How do we take every day and use that approach?
That's right. Well, there's a thing called organizational stewardship. So we all know what stewardship is with our own finances, but organizational stewardship is the responsibility of leaders to really improve the organization for the long term, ensuring that it thrives for future generations. So how is maybe your organization or your ministry pouring into the next generation? So, just an example, for instance, you see a lot of these out there, but like Chick-fil-A, for instance, they have the Remarkable Futures Scholarships. So they're obviously, Starbucks does this too, right? They give scholarships to people, to the next generation, so that they can both work, but also become educated and get educated moving forward. So that's one way you can look at it from an organizational standpoint. As a large organization, what are we doing to instill the organizational stewardship of this company?
Now, what would it look like for a believer to, willingly choose to, take a new job, resign from their current position, and finish well there, leave it better than they found it?
Right. Well, I think just some real practical things is giving the employee enough time, right? So I know that there's the standard of, hey, 2 weeks notice. So obviously that's really good. I know some employers don't even give that. But if you can give them enough time to fill that position, I think that's one, just, hey, I'm leaving it better than I found it. Making sure you're finishing all of your tasks or all of your job responsibilities that were handed to you before you leave. And so I remember, one time I was leaving Moody on my own time, but I worked, probably the most I worked at Moody was in those last few weeks, because I wanted to apply this principle, but also set up the next person for success. And so whether that's organizing things, helping just to grease the wheels so that when they came in, they could hit the ground running instead of trying to clean up my mess along with trying to figure out what their role is.
That's so uncommon, though. I mean, my wife has experienced this in a job transition where the person who was supposed to train her just was dialing it in for the last 2 weeks and taught her nothing. Why would a Christian do this? Why is it worth it to work harder your last 2 weeks than you've ever worked before?
And I think you hit the nail on the head that for most, it's not worth it. Like the world says, no, you don't have to do that. But as believers, and I think you even talked about this earlier in the morning, like work as you're working unto the Lord. We've moved a couple times and in the last several years, and we see this with the way that we move into a new house. Like we can tell some people, they took care of their home and they cleaned it up well before we moved in. And we tried to do the same as well. When we sold a house, we didn't have to patch up every hole and, repaint and clean everything, but we wanted to, not for the next owners, but because, hey, we were stewards of this. God gave us this opportunity and we want to leave it, so that they can have a nice home as well. And, that they can move in more easily than us. And same with the job as well.
So what are some keys for you when you were transitioning out of Moody? Like, how did you set things up well? What did that mean to you?
Well, so there's a couple things, right? One is the task, the process, and then the other one is the people as well. And so what I tried to do, like I said, with the task is to get everything organized. That was one. But also the people is I tried to meet with as many people, one-on-one and just savor those those final kind of working moments. And we still stay in touch with a lot of the faculty and my colleagues there, but just to do things together, one last time, whether it's grab lunch, grab coffee, go somewhere in the city of Chicago. So I think those are really important because you don't just want to vanish. There does need to be some kind of a closure that you can have with your colleagues. And so I think that's really important as well. Maybe it's writing handwritten notes. I know that's kind of old school and old fashioned, but those little things help to leave that memory. The other kind of big idea, I guess, lesson that I've learned too, is that the life you lead shapes the legacy you leave. And so the way that you lead your life, especially in those last days, it shapes the legacy of how people were going to remember you. We're all going to leave some place at some time. We're all leaving. And people are going to remember us one way or another. And the way that we lead our lives all the way up until that final moment is going to make an impact, and it's going to be a way that people remember us.
It's true, though, isn't it? I mean, when I've seen people who don't finish well, you kind of forget all the great things they did. And their entire reputation at your workplace is tarnished. But I don't know that they're thinking about that when they're doing it. I wonder what they are thinking when they don't finish well. Have you been able to analyze that?
I don't know. That would be a great study. My guess is that, they're just so emotionally tied up in it and emotionally tied to their job. And I get it. There are a lot of emotions, especially, well, for good or for worse, whether they're leaving on their own terms or not. But I think if we fix our gaze higher and remember that, hey, God is sovereign, he's in control, and he placed us there for a reason, and he's taking us out for a reason as well, then it kind of puts everything in perspective.
Yeah, I think that's why it's so important for us as followers of Christ to prioritize spiritual growth. Because at the end of the day, we have a job because the Lord has, in his graciousness, given it to us. And we have to remember that it belongs to him first. And I think that perhaps may be the key for believers to be able to transition well and leave a place better than we left it, if we truly give credit to who it came from.
That's right. That's right. And yes, some of those times will be challenging. But, James talks about that. Hey, in the midst of your trials, consider it joy because it's doing something in you, right? It's building your faith. And just like our family, people put those people in our lives, our spouses, our friends, they put those people in our lives. God sovereignly did that. He did the same for our coworkers. And that's a little bit harder to explain to people, but yes, God put those coworkers in your life for that particular season because he wants you to grow through them. And so I think just remembering that helps along the way when things get difficult.
Lauren just gave me a look that the Lord has placed her in my life to learn something. Is that what you were saying?
Exactly. And this is why you need to be watching Mornings with Brian on YouTube so that you can see these looks.
Yeah. You would have seen it live, like her going, see, told you, learned something. That's so great. Dr. Chris Rappazzini, we always love having you on the show. Again, he's an associate professor of leadership at Anderson University. And he also a former Moody professor, and he's an author. Tell folks how they can get more connected to you, maybe even find your book.
Sure. So it's through Moody Publishing. So you can always go to Moody's website. The leadership stuff I do on the side is through my organization called Faithful Steps Forward. So faithfulstepsforward.com. You can follow me there or just through Anderson University.
Thanks again, Dr. Rappazzini. We'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure.
You bet. 8:31. I can't help but think to cheer for a former colleague of Ron and mine, not yours because you two weren't here, but Kathleen Zion was the co-host of the show for the first couple of years. With Brian and Kathleen. And I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier, but I don't know that anyone's ever finished better than Kathleen did when she resigned her position here. She just, in a really kind way, told us that she was going to transition out, gave us way more time than we deserved. I think she gave us like 2 months.
I bet it was, yeah.
And when we finally got to the point where we had hired Janelle, not only did Kathleen transition out, but she cheered for Janelle on her way out, went to the photo shoot with us so we could actually take photos, the three of us, to help ease the transition. Very rare, uncommon. And I think that's a wonderful model for how Christians really, no matter what your transition is, whether it's willing or not, you've got to remember to finish well. I think it's what the Lord expects of us. And really, it is that shift in focus on who truly is in control.
Right.
You are serving at the pleasure of the Lord, not the President of the United States. You know what I mean? But it's a great phrase to think through. And remind yourself frequently so that you're not caught off guard and you can finish well. 8:32 on WCRF. We're going to talk a little bit about blaming the devil for everything in just a minute.
My gosh.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
They say family knows you best. Here's Brian's older brother with a message for you.
At least my little brother was able to make a career out of talking non-stop.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios, Christian counseling for adults, couples, children, and families, North Coast Family Foundation. Good morning. As Emily, it wasn't Emily, it was Kate Shellnut wrote in Christianity Today. She said, in recent years, I've
Emily,
noticed...
Kate, same thing.
Whatever. What's your name? Beth? In recent years,
Marie.
I've noticed more Christians bringing up the work of the enemy in conversation. Usually it goes something like this. The enemy wants me to keep you from doing God's will. The enemy doesn't want you to walk in abundance. The enemy wants to take you down. Stand firm. They're blaming the devil on everything. It's happening more often. Are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen it.
So is it the devil made me do it, or the devil's lurking around trying to get you? He's like the boogeyman.
I think just blaming anything on quote unquote spiritual warfare when sometimes things just happen and there's no real reason for them. It's just life, consequence of a fallen world, not necessarily Satan attacking you for some, specific reason.
Ron, are you walking around blaming the devil for stuff?
Like Flip Wilson, the devil made me do it.
Oh, is that who said that? Okay, There you go.
And that's a throwback to the 60s, I guess.
That's the 1900s, ladies.
Yeah. I don't. I'm aware that he would be pleased if I fall into sin. I did go through a stage when I was reading Frank Peretti
This
novels.
Present Darkness?
Yeah. And Piercing the Darkness and the other darkness. But I've gotten beyond that. I think most of my problems are myself.
Yeah, but I still encounter people who really want to, they blame the devil for everything. Do you encounter that, Lauren? Daria's seeing it.
I don't know if I'm encountering it in my day-to-day, but I have seen it. Yeah.
Now, someone is listening going, well, it is the devil's fault, everything. He's wickedness. He's out to get you. He is the boogeyman.
You're giving the devil a lot more control and power than he has.
Mm.
He's not omniscient and omnipotent
Nope.
and omnipresent like God.
Well, and Kate Shellnut in this article was talking about how she just had a horrible day where her dog got away. She was running late. She tripped and fell, broke her phone, bruised her elbow. And she did not blame the devil for this. But she had somebody who was like, oh, spiritual warfare. He's trying to get you.
No, you're
Ruining your
clumsy and didn't get up on time because you were feeling lazy and wanted to stay in bed an extra 10 minutes.
But the devil made her dog run away.
A series of unfortunate events. No, it was probably a squirrel that made her dog run away.
Why can't you blame the devil for that? The devil wanted to ruin her day, so it made the dog run away.
The devil
Run away,
doesn't
dog.
really care about your dog.
How do you know?
Because what the devil cares about is getting you onto his side opposed to God. That's what he cares about. He wants to continually feed you lies about who God is. It's from the garden. He wants to feed you lies about who God is and what God does so that you think that you are God along with him.
I remember being surprised that Dr. Rydelnik, when people asked him this, he'll be like, I don't think about him very much.
No.
I try not to.
Why would I?
There's some people think about him almost more than they think about the Lord.
Yeah.
Now, as Kate Shellnut wrote, she goes, when we instinctively evoke the enemy, we convey that each moment and momentary struggle falls within a great cosmic battle against an unseen adversary in the spiritual realm. It's like Frank Peretti's This Present Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Such battles sound stirring and epic. They sound far more exciting than the daily slog to subdue my need for approval or deny my own evil desires. Because of this, we may be too eager to attribute to Satan what might be more accurately attributable to our sinful nature or a broken world. In fact, she says in Scripture, there's actually 3 enemies, not one. The devil, the world, and the flesh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why do people just focus on one? I mean, I saw her write that. I was like, oh, yeah, that's true.
Because it absolves you of personal responsibility. You don't like to admit that things keep happening because you have some sin issue in your life that you refuse to deal with. It's much easier to just, say it was the devil. And it seems, too, that some people maybe have more of a fear of the devil than they have a fear and reverence and love for God.
And they're not even worried about holiness. Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, the devil tempted me to do that. No, you're just selfish and rude. And that's why you did it.
Yeah, sometimes you want to do something or you lie or something. Sometimes that's just your sin nature, because we're born into sin.
You teach natural consequences with your boys, Lauren.
All the time.
I think God allows natural consequences to happen to us through our own behavior when we do things we're not supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she asked a thought-provoking question here. Of those three in Scripture, which you can dig on in your own time to see, it is there. There's three enemies, the devil, the world, and the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you think is mentioned more often?
The self.
You said that so fast. Are you sure?
Positive.
Deliberate for a minute. Were you putting that in ChatGPT?
Nope. Here's my hands.
So why?
It's the flesh.
Proportionally
First of all, you're with yourself all day long. You are with yourself all day long. The devil and his demons, like Ron said, are not omnipresent, so they aren't following you around all the time.
They don't know everything going on in your head.
But you know what is following you around all the time? Your wicked heart and mind is with you always.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think through when you look at the Proverbs, when you look at Jesus' teachings, the epistles, they're not running around blaming the devil for everything. Like Paul is not mad at the devil for messing up with the Corinthians.
Right.
He's mad at the Corinthians for being sinful.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so she poses it this
Giving
way.
into your sinful desires, yeah.
Yeah, she says, is Satan keeping me from getting my work done, or is it my lack of self-control? Is Satan sabotaging my marriage, or is it my selfishness? Is Satan stirring dissent in my church, or is Larry just kind of a jerk in the member meetings?
Come on, Larry.
Am I under spiritual attack, or is it just the normal frustrations of life pressing on my own sinful tendencies? And then she puts it this way, be careful not to bear false witness against the devil, because he would love that.
Yeah, you're doing exactly what he wants you to do, giving him more control and more power and more influence than he has.
But that's a startling way to put it, isn't it? Bearing false witness against the devil. But that's what that is. When you blame the devil for your own sin, you're lying.
Well, not only that, but then you're not actually looking at the actual problem, which is your own selfishness. And that's exactly what the devil wants. He wants you to think that it's something else, so you're not worried about yourself. You're not worried about your own sin, and you're not actually becoming more like Christ because your focus is pointed on the devil rather than your own sin.
But someone's saying, but when can I blame the devil? I do it a lot. I want to stop, but he's got to be responsible for something.
Why do we need to play the blame game?
Because it's his fault. He's out to get me. It's the man. He's bringing me down. So somebody wants you to say, but you can blame the devil when, go ahead, fill in the blank.
I don't know if there's
your
like
day's bad.
Sometimes your day's just
husband's
bad.
annoying.
Sometimes your husband's just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, yes, we do have an enemy in Satan, and he does, as someone texted in, the scripture tells us, he, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. That is true. But when we start saying, the devil's in my mind, and he's in my house, and he's following me around, and he's doing this, that's giving him a lot more power than he has. He's a created being. He is not God. He's a created being.
Is that scripture maybe in reference to just waiting for you to walk away from God, not necessarily trying to make your day horrible?
I'd have to look. Yeah, it's probably not about making your day horrible. Sometimes days are just horrible. And just like the article is talking about, there is temptations of the world because the world is also fallen. And so sometimes in a fallen world, there's things that are bad, like sickness. The devil didn't give you sickness. That's just because our world is fallen and we have fallen bodies.
There's people, though, that think he's walking around like going, and you will have cancer.
I'd like to spend my time
Magic wand.
not thinking about him because it gives him power.
Well, and you're giving him so much power, right? When you go, when the person who's got a marriage problem, if they're blaming the devil for the marriage problem, the devil loves it.
Right.
Because you're ignoring your own messed up stuff.
Yeah, you're ignoring the problem and you're focusing on him.
So it'll be that much longer before you fix the problem, which is you, the flesh, not the world or the devil.
The devil only has power that's been given to him.
No, I'm sure Frank Peretti was a nice guy. I never met him. But maybe that book kind of screwed up a generation of Christians.
I think there was a whole era and genre that it scared people a lot.
Like picturing right now, there's a battle of an angel and a demon fighting over influencing me.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me not to think like that.
Right.
You're telling me to grow in holiness, to be more like Jesus and battle against my own sinful nature and not think of it as some sort of, like I'm looking up here if you're watching the live stream. Right there, they're fighting.
The red devil with the horns? Yeah.
Yeah, fighting against an angel that's ripped.
And we act like the battle between Satan and God is an even match. It's not.
And it's already won, so.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
What are you worrying about?
So the person who likes to blame the devil a lot, how do you shift focus away from that? Because they're feeling convicted right now.
Take responsibility for your own sin. Realize we all sin. You know, some of the old hymns made it sound like I once was lost in sin, but now Christ has come in and saved my soul. And so you feel like, oh, well, I used to sin. I don't sin anymore. But that's not true. We continue to sin. We continue to need to rely on God's gift of grace. And you need to take that in and repent from the sin that you're doing. You can't just blame it on demonic forces.
Yeah, very good. It's 8:48 on WCRF. A little bit more of the show coming in just a minute.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Making assumptions is rarely a good idea. That's true when it comes to thinking healthcare costs can't be affordable. Christian Healthcare Ministries has been helping believers meet their healthcare needs for over 40 years. It's not insurance, it's a ministry. Visiting chministries.org/Moody eliminates assumptions and shows how this unique model has worked to meet the healthcare needs of hundreds of thousands of Christians. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
Pursue your passion toward shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Online. You'll study systematic theology, pastoral practices, develop your skills in preaching and teaching, and be equipped to analyze Scripture through the lens of the original Hebrew and Greek texts. Take classes when and how it's most convenient for you with our flexible online option. Get started today at moody.edu/online.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. 6 to 9 a.m. weekdays on 103.3. Oh, how good it is.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3. At 6 to 9 a.m.
8:53 WCRF, Mornings with Brian. A few minutes left. I want to get to one more interesting point from Christianity Today. As a writer was noticing how often Christians today are blaming everything on Satan when it could be two other enemies listed in Scripture, the world and the flesh. Mm-hmm. And in our estimation, the flesh is talked about more than anything else.
Yeah.
And the writer of this piece says this. I'd like your reaction to it, guys. Interestingly, when life moves smoothly without disruption, we do not perceive ourselves to be under attack. We tend to think, despite Scripture clearly indicating otherwise, that a life without frustration indicates being in God's will. But perhaps nothing poses a greater temptation to self-reliance and self-righteousness than a life free of challenge and filled with markers of success. Such a life is its own potent form of seduction. What are they saying, do you think?
Well, we would like to think that if you have a life of hardship and turmoil, that Satan made that happen to you because he wants to bring you harm and do harm to you and your family. But actually, Satan uses things like greed and money and pride and selfishness and success to make you rely on yourself, to make you think that you can be like God.
Yeah, I think a lot of issues with modern Christianity, especially in the West, stem from the fact that we are so cozy here. Whereas you see people that are genuinely on fire for the Lord, and the gospel is just spreading like wildfire in places where they don't have much and where there are people that want to completely shut Christianity down.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's such bad theology if you flip it on its head, what they're saying, right? Like, if something bad is happening to me, it's because the devil is doing it. But when I'm super righteous and I'm especially holy, nothing will go wrong. That's like a works righteousness.
Yeah.
Like you're saying bad things are happening because you aren't doing the right thing, so the devil gets a stronghold in your life. Isn't that works righteousness? It's like if you do the right thing, everything will be fine. That's not what Scripture says.
No.
And you're right. Perhaps the greatest temptation in our culture, as you both so beautifully put it, is the idea that wealth and success is the goal. When I think that's when you're most easily in such comfort that you're deceived desperately.
Well, what do we know about Satan? He was an angel, and he said, I actually would like to be like God. Let's go, boys, and tried to be God. And that's how this all began. And then he's in the garden, and what does he say to Eve? Oh, that's not what God said. You can know everything. You can be like God, just like me. Just like me, Satan. You can be like God too, Eve, if you just... He doesn't know what he's talking about. Eat from the fruit. You're fine. He just doesn't want you to be like him. It's the first lie, is that you can be God, that you can be like God. He himself wanted to do it, and now he's tempting others to do the same. Because if we think that we can be God, we don't rely on God.
Yeah, and we absolutely get that way. We think if we have enough money, we can make all our problems go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and my friend Nancy Kane, who helps people with spiritual formation, I see her really sad when she encounters somebody who's like very spiritual and very content. They're like, everything's great. I don't know. I'm fine. I'm reading my Bible every day. Everything's great. She gets sad about it because that person is not going to grow spiritually.
Yeah, we're told a lot in Scripture that there will be suffering, and that suffering causes you to grow in your faith.
Yeah.
When you face trials of many kind.
Yeah, there's that beautiful thing. It was a Peter, right? Where if you face this, it'll help you grow in this, and compassion. I'm really poorly remembering it, but but all that will produce steadfastness and patience, and so so somebody wrote to us saying, I don't know, I disagree with you. I think the devil is behind everything. They didn't quite say that. What did they say?
I have to disagree with you. The devil does play a part. Job was a righteous man, and the devil did things to him. The devil, had to ask for permission, but he still did do things to Job.
I understand what they're saying. And here's my deal. I'm with Dr. Rydelnik. Was the devil part of it? I don't care. I'm not going to give him any attention. What would I give attention to? I'm going to give attention to me growing in holiness, to be more like Jesus. I'm not going to blame him. I'm not going to blame the devil for me not growing in my faith.
Right.
I think it's an issue of focus, not of theological reality, right? It's not the devil doesn't have power. It's not that he's not doing things. It's that if you spend all your time focusing on him, you're not going to grow and you're missing the point. Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, ignore him.
Yeah.
Is that bad to totally ignore him?
No, he's already lost. So why are you spending your time worrying about him?
What do you gain by not ignoring him?
You already have victory in Christ. Why are you worrying about the devil?
Just like stop thinking about him.
Yeah.
Stop blaming him.
You're giving him way more power than he needs.
And start looking in a mirror and preach the gospel to yourself and remind yourself every day that you have growth to do to become more like Christ. And that pain will probably be a little painful. And that's okay because it'll help you grow in Christ. I hope that helps somebody today. If not, I don't know, blame the devil. Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, perhaps Friday we'll bring this back up. We have Pastor Tanks on Friday.
Oh, yeah, we got Pastor Tanks on Friday.
Oh.
It's going to get wild and crazy. There'll be some emojis. We don't know which ones this
Fires in
this
the
week.
chat, whales, snowboarders.
Whales snowboarding while
on
shooting
fire.
Right. Was the latest one. If you don't know, ask somebody or join us on Friday. It's time for us to get out of here and for JD Greer to preach.
Helping you take the next step in your